Yeah, g'day draft degenerates. Welcome to the first hit up of 2024 season for the Wire. And of course, you're talking to all three of us. We've got the Rubdown, myself, Natty, Wooker, and the Baby Blues, Guru. What's going on, Guru?
Oh, the Guru.
Boys, I've missed you. I'm not going to lie. I have really, really missed you. And how good is it talking a bit of draft again? How good?
It's never too early. Never too early in the season.
Mate, we started very early. Premature ejaculation for draft. We were hitting it in November. Wild scenes, absolute wild scenes. But now it's January. We're humming. We're up and going now, and starting to try and click the mind into gear for the 2024 draft. How you going with it all, mate? You're spinning a lot of plates, Guru. Is draft still up there for you?
Yeah, still number one by far and away. Probably been a little bit quieter in the preseason than previously, but we'll be gearing up over the next few weeks. We've got, for classic people, we've got Beers and Break-Evens returning this week. So we're getting stuck into that with the great Timmy Williams, who just signed with the Raiders. So very exciting time.
Congrats, Timmy.
Yeah, Timmy's absolutely flying at the moment. And then we've got, a heap of draft content coming. I think my draft is 37 days away. The boys might have said yesterday. It's warming up very quickly.
Got some work to do, mate. And being the president of the CBA Association, I mean, you should be all over it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, boys, as you can see, I'm actually
pending.
New studio's named the CBA Centre of Excellence. So this is where they all come through.
Yeah, love that. I love that.
It's a pretty strong resume.
I'm going to pop the top off one of these Mark Tinicellos because I'm very thirsty.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's good gear. Right, where do we start? I've heard you got a bit of a bone to pick with this, Guru. Go on then. This will be cute.
Yeah. Now, boys, I obviously do a lot of content with a lot of people, and you two I consider to be genuine friends. There's other people like the Broncos winger, Phoenix Crossland, Bobby Boucher that I consider to be associates, but I consider you two to be genuine friends of mine, day ones. And every year I like to throw you a little bone early, give you a little tip, and whether it's I don't know, like an Isaac Tungo, whether it's a Ruben Cotter. Last year for Wook, it was Jermaine Hopgood. I got a little tip for you this year.
Ooh.
And, there's good news and there's bad news. So I'm going to start with the positive. Obviously, I want to congratulate you both with babies on the way. It is fantastic news. I'm super excited for you.
Thank you.
The negative, and sometimes it takes someone that cares about you a lot to deliver news to you sometimes that you need to hear. I am so fucking sick of hearing a 10 to 15 minute opening to every one of your fucking podcasts about how you've got a kid or your wife's pregnant. I have never seen that are more fucking desperate to convince people they've had sex. It is unfucking believable, and it has to stop.
Mate, do you stretch before you do any sort of physical activity? Warm up before you play football, anything like that? Because that's what we're all about.
We've got to loosen the tonsils.
That's it.
Somehow. Just
warm into it, baby.
It's just about bitching and moaning about the situation we've got.
This type of excellence in podcasting just doesn't come straight off the bat. We have to warm into it, and it's hard to peak so early, so quickly. We get there eventually. But we need to warm into it, baby. And yes, I do need to make everyone realize that there is a woman out there that will lay next to me.
Boys, the content game is a young game.
Oh, so fucking good. Hold up.
I'll give you that one, bro, mate. You've outdone yourself.
Yeah, fair call.
You would do a good one.
Yeah, 100%. You would do a good one. Hold on, is Guru with us here or what?
Oh, he's thrown down the sting and he's gone. He's fucked off.
He's
dropped the mic and he's fucked off.
Talking about peaking early.
Oh wow.
He's come on and he sledged us, and that'll do him. Or he lasted all of four and a half minutes.
It's a dead set drive-by.
Fuck yeah. Right. Well, let's hope that the
All right,
guru
well.
pops his head back in. Jesus, that was a little bit how you going. But yeah, maybe we do talk about our lives too much. Who fucking knows?
Yeah, maybe. Well, I mean,
It's funny to me.
We've only had the 2 potties where we've actually started to talk about it massive. But mate, we've got nothing else to fucking talk about.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And Guru will find this out. When you start having kids, it literally is your life.
It's a big part of your life.
It is everything.
Mm.
I reckon
He's
we
got
just
to get past one past the keeper though.
we just fill in time here until this cunt comes back on. Surely he just re-enters the.
Yeah. Well, I think he'll probably go out of it and then come back in.
And I'll just edit all this out.
Oh god.
Because I don't have my phone on me, so maybe he's trying to. And you don't have your phone on you either.
Neither do I. Hang on. I'll be able to get my WhatsApp up, so he might be able to say some. Fuck, I'll punch through these 3 beers in about 15 minutes.
Yeah. Yep. Very thirsty.
Yeah. Ruse just asked, so have we frozen?
You froze. Just tell him to pop back in the same link.
I just said, nah, just you, bro. Nutty and I are still in here after you drive by.
Oh, fuck.
Fucking hell. Oh, mate, this is going to be uncomfortable. We've booked in to get aircon.
You have to, mate.
So
that's
getting done. That's getting done in all.
Yep.
The living room and the 2 rooms.
Yep.
Next week.
We're aware of the baby sleeping as well.
Well, that's the thing. That's why we're getting both rooms done.
Yep. Because we end up having to do that.
We're not going to fuck about with it.
And then you can keep it constant then. Like, Pepper's aircon's pumping all year long. Heat in the winter, cool in summer. Whatever gets him to sleep properly, you know?
Exactly.
All right. Let me write down for 4 minutes, about 4 minutes 30 is when he fucked off. Just so I know when I'm doing some editing.
Am I back?
Oh, here he is.
Here she comes. Here she comes.
I'm not quite sure what happened there. It's a bit of a worry. I am.
I thought it was just because he did a physical mic drop.
That would have been unreal. I'm hotspotting, so fingers crossed.
Hang on. So I'm gonna have to pause recording. Well, here she is. I was carrying on about Wooker maybe shitting the bed in this podcast, but my God, haven't you just fucking come on here? He's had a sledge, one of the sledges. He's been practicing it in front of in the mirror. He's dropped the sledge and then dropped his bundle and got out of here before we could have anything to retaliate with. What a coward!
It's a coward move.
Yeah, sorry about that, boys. You know what? I'm not even insulted by the practicing in the mirror because that happened for 2.5 hours today. And I thought I nailed it until the internet turned off. Good times. How good?
Oh, God. That is classic. That is very good. That is very good. I'll cop it on the gym too. Fuck.
Yeah.
You wait until you start having kids, Guru. It is fucking your life and it's disgusting, but it is.
Yeah.
Wait to hear a word from me.
Okay.
Suffer in
okay,
silence,
darling.
then, my friend.
Yeah, that's it. Well, boys, I thought I'd get us all together here for the wire because as this preseason builds, there are some really interesting burning questions for the draft in 2024, which we'll get to. And one of the best people to talk to about these questions is the Roo himself, because he's got his little birdies. He's got his ear close to the ground. He's got his finger on the pulse, which we love. So plenty of good shit coming out for that. But I just thought we'd kick it off with a little bit of a draft strategy chat Guru, you're probably going to draft before Wook and I, so
Yeah.
you need to fucking get your shit sorted quick. Talk to me. Where are we heading here? Do you know where you're picking? How is if not how is your league picking the draft order?
Boys, I wish I had more answers for you, but we always allow the
good. Thanks for coming, Guru. We'll get you next time.
We always allow the previous year's winner to pick sort of how we do draft day challenges and whatnot. And last year,
so it's not up to you.
it's not up to me. And it was a privilege last year that the bloke, it was great for content and everything. The bloke that won the year before, Al, he chose a Melbourne Cup sweep. So I knew a couple of months out what was happening. It was great. Stevie Hebner, who's a big rub-down listener, he texted me straight away when you called us the Mickey Mouse League the other day. Got really upset, the poor fella.
Rattled.
He won it last year with the second, maybe third best team in the comp, but he won it last year. So it's up to him how we do our challenges, and I think it's going to go back to our usual shit fight of you find out an hour before draft.
Ooh.
I
don't mind that.
On a swivel.
There is some merit to that because everyone does start fucking panicking pretty quickly.
Suits me more.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the people that, put the effort in and are prepped and ready to go an hour before, like, what the fuck? Who cares?
Yeah, I cannot tell you how good it was, though, having 5 months of knowing Nathan Cleary is going to be my first pick. It just... it was the easiest thing in the world. So looking forward to the challenge again this year of the chaos.
So really the only one of us who knows where they're picking is Wooker at pick 11. Who do you think you're going to get, Wooker, at pick 11? Or who you're hoping slides to you at 11? Hello?
Sorry, does Wooker know who he's picking simply because he's not going to be there?
Yeah.
Oh.
So you get so you get
So I automatically get 11. Well, the second last pick because I've got a legitimate excuse not to be there.
Yeah, there's two blokes that aren't coming. If you don't come, sorry, you can't be in the challenges. So you can't come. You can't come any more than last or second last, depending on when you get your excuse in. So Wooker having a child, I deem that a better excuse than whatever the other cunt's doing. He's flying overseas or whatever. So Wooker gets pick 11. What are we thinking here, Wook?
Oh, mate, there's a couple of ones that I'd be very keen for if they slide pretty far. Look, legitimately, I think one that may slide, and look, I got burned by it last season, but Tommy Turbo might slide back there. And look, if it's a risk that I'd be willing to take. But yeah, someone might want to take the risk earlier. But
he's ready to be hurt again, people.
Yeah, I know. When you look at guys like Fafita, I mean, Tino, I'm probably not looking at, and like Grant's probably going to go a bit earlier. Munster's probably going to go a bit earlier, and I'm not that keen on him. Yeah, I've got to do a bit of study and have a look at what the guys picked last season as well, that are obviously going to pick ahead of me. Because
you sound rattled already, bro. I've got you this year. I'm just going to put it out straight away.
Can we?
I'm in your brain, bro.
Can we timestamp
that? I will. 5:04. Got you covered.
Do we genuinely think Turbo can get down to 11? If I was pick 7, I didn't think Turbo would get to me. To be honest with you, there is not a hope in hell I would let him get past pick 5 or 6. Maybe I'm mad, but I would not let him go.
You have a look at the last 4 seasons and how many games he's played in each of those seasons.
I don't think it matters. He's a guy.
That's the reason. Yeah, but a lot of the guys in my league, in our league, are pretty risk averse with those type of picks. So, look, it's a risk I'd take it at where I am. If I was pick 7 or pick 8, I'm not sure if that risk is something that I'd be wanting to take.
If I told you he hasn't played over 15 games in the last 5 years, would that surprise you?
Not at all. But you know that when he's on the field, if he's just fit for those couple of games, yeah.
For sure. I'll tell you what, it surprised me. I actually didn't think it was that bad. I was like, he might have had a couple of bad years. Obviously, 2022 was a pretty poor year. But when I looked in, I was like, fuck, the cunt never plays.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I think he might slide that far. So, look,
but are you going to gamble that the year you let him slip is the year he plays 22 games and wins a comp for you?
If he plays 22 games this year, you're taking him pick 3 next year.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Fuck,
for sure.
there's not a hope in hell I'd be letting him get out of the top 5.
Wow, that's a little bit too juicy for my liking.
That's a bit spicy.
I like him at around pick 8, something like that. I'm willing to go. There's a few other guys that I'd like over him, but again, you know, we're big gamblers, and he is the number 1 draft gamble and has been for the last 5 years. Every year it's a gamble, and you make the gamble, and everyone's fucking stoked when they have him. Everyone's stoked. Then he gets injured, and everyone goes, "Fuck." But maybe this is the year that he plays a full season. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I'm concerned about what my options will be, but I'm not going to know until the day. So I'll do some prep. I'll have a few strategies in place, and look, I'm still going to nail it one way or another. Look, hey mate, let's look back at every draft day. It's not the draft day that I.
No, that's true. That's very true. That's very.
My
true.
track record is good.
Yeah, it's whenever you look at those YouTube videos, we're constantly getting the speed wobbles. They don't get the speed wobbles when they start pedaling. It's a little bit down the track when they start getting those the Wooka wobbles. Can't wait.
Yeah.
The 2024 Wooka wobbles. Looking forward to them immensely. All right, well, do we start getting into some questions here? Because fuck, we've got some sexy ones here. And the first one
there's a few big ones.
I want to kick off with is the Knights back rower situation here, Guru. So we actually recorded the 2RF podcast the other night. Hasn't dropped yet, but one of my chub rubs, or my main chub rub, is Tyson Frizzell. And this was before I heard you talk about him playing left. So I'd already picked up that there was some value to be had in Tyson Frizzell just because of some of the injury-affected games or resting or whatever it may be, just fluctuation in minutes over the last couple of years. He actually averages over 60 in 80-minute games over the last two years. So there's value there anyway. And then you put in the fact that he may be playing on one of the most potent attacking edges in the game. That's something that I like, but also the talk of Kai Pierce-Paul or Dylan Lucas getting, and I don't care whoever gets the shot, I don't care which edge they play. Either of them I'm really interested in Dylan Lucas, but can you shed some light on the Knights back rower situation? Have you heard anything? Is there anything concrete about Frizzell on the left? Talk to me, son.
I am pretty sure you will see Tyson Frizzell line up on the left. I wouldn't say it's concrete, but it is drying, boys. It is drying very quickly. If you tried to put a handprint in it, you'd come up with duck eggs, I think. So I think you'll see Frizzell on the left edge. That right edge is interesting. Kai Pierce-Paul, he's had an injury in the offseason, so I don't think he'll be there round 1, round 2, early days. So
he's a unit, though, isn't he?
He is a unit for sure. I'm not sure if when he was over in the Super League, he played a bit of center, he played a bit of second row, he played on the right edge as well. I think long-term wise, he will be the back rower there. Dylan Lucas is very interesting. I'm sure you boys have gone through his stats, and it's a small sample size, 5 or 6 games, which in terms of a season is small, but 5 or 6 games is a reasonably good whack. I think he's averaging about 50 base stats across those games when he's playing in the back row. I reckon he has every chance to land that spot, but I think once Kai Pierce-Paul is fit and available, it's going to be very interesting. I also wouldn't rule out Jed Cartwright either, which is
he's
from an exciting option. But I certainly wouldn't be ruling Jed out. I think, like all teams, the Newcastle Knights have realised they can score points left, right, and centre, but they defensively they need to aim up. Which as we know, that left side, you've got Bradman Best, you've got Greg Marcia, 2 guys that have struggled in the past defensively. And I believe that's why Tyson Frizzell is making the move over there. So it's got nothing to do with that side. I think it's about shoring up that edge. So I wouldn't be surprised, if we get to that right edge, you might have Kai Pierce-Paul, you might have Dylan Lucas with a bit more upside, but wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if the best defender wins on that edge. I think Pierce-Paul coming over here, I'm very excited about him, huge upside. But I think it'll be a big test defensively. Him and the other kid that's come over, Will Price. I think the physicality will be a big step up. So I think it might.
And it is a faster game as well. NRL compared to Super League. So
without a doubt. Yeah, he's got all the ability. Kai Pearce-Paul, I'm very excited about him. But this Dylan Lucas, fuck, if you draft him and he manages to hold on to that edge spot, fuck, even if he doesn't play 80 minutes, if he plays 60 minutes, I reckon you've got yourself absolute fucking gold there. But it is a big gamble because that is a crowded little spot, that right edge.
Yeah, but I mean, what would you be spending? Like a 17th pick or something like that? Like no one's really looking at him.
People will be looking at him, I think. I think people will be looking at him, especially with Kai Pearce-Paul out for the first few weeks, mate. You're going to get all your team list, and he's going to be there. No one's going to see Kai Pearce-Paul in trials. So I think the stocks of Dylan Lucas will absolutely skyrocket. He is one of the few dual position guys, 50 in base stat. He's going to be a talking point in Classic as well. I reckon the closer the season gets, the more popular Dylan Lucas is going to be. He'll be hot property.
In Classic, is he priced at a 55 average? Or because he only played 5?
40-point average. So he's like, there's a bit of gain there, but if he plays 80 minutes there, you could almost get a cash cow at fucking 400K, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
That's one of those things, isn't it? Like as soon as guys get to talking about players that are really good for Classic, the draft value just bottoms out. And every year we see it.
Start to get overdrafted for sure.
We start going, okay, fuck, this guy looks good. And then Classic, if he's a really good option in Classic, it's just all over social media. And that sort of line between Classic and draft gets muddled. And the value just bottoms out. But very interesting, all three guys, to be honest. I mean, Tyson Frizell, really interested in him. He only scored 4 tries. I mean, if he throws another 3 or 4 on top of that, playing on that edge, especially when defenses probably aren't looking at him when they're attacking, when you've got Best, KP, Marzu. Fuck, that's very sexy. I'm big on Tyson Frizell. And I was before he was playing left.
I think if you scored points for decoy runs, I think he's going to go really well. I don't think he's going to be on the end of many of those attacking raids, if I'm honest.
Yeah, but you watch them how they played last year, man. Lockie Fitzgibbon played an integral part in a lot of those games. There was a lot
100%.
Yeah, I think Frizell will still get a lot of ball there. I think he'll come up with a lot of it, offloads to KP.
Offloads is probably where we'll get the offloads leading to tries and things like that is definitely where we'll get it.
You have a look at the way that Jackson plays in particular, obviously watching very closely. If he's on that left edge, Jackson loves to play to his back rower and get a quick play the ball off the back of it. And I know with an experienced head like Frizell, he will use him all the time down there. So I think he will be in for a uptick in attack.
All you have to do is look back at Tyson Frizell playing in other teams and the halfbacks that have played next to him, or the 5'8s that have played next to him. Like, take your mind back to when he was playing State of Origin. He had, some of the best halves in the comp playing next to him and them using him. He was an ATS for me, betting wise, every single game that he was playing, because he runs such a hard fucking line and he does it consistently. And all you have to do is start using the guys around him, wait until defenses move or slide away from him, and he's going to run that fucking gap and just ball off the hip. He's so hard to stop. I mean, he's a fucking strong boy. So I think he can honestly score 7, 8, 9 tries in 2024 if he's on that left edge.
And in the last couple of years, he's had so many injury-affected games that have impacted his average season long. So you add, 4 those averages from last season, he's already getting around that 60 average. So, and
the funny thing is, he does have those injury-affected games, but he's still playing 20-plus games in both those seasons. So it's like the perfect scenario. Like, there's enough there to show you some value, but you can have a look at the games he's playing and you go, well, he's pretty fucking stalwart with the games that he's playing. It's not as if he's having an injury affected game and then having 4 or 5 games off because of that injury. He's usually back the next week or something like that. It's just 1 or 2 games that are being limited with minutes, and that's showing up in his averages, value for average anyway. So I like that
as well. Like, there's better halfbacks in the game, obviously, than Jackson, but the way that Jacko, he's a master of just the little small things in rugby league as far as squaring up, and he will just get Tyson one-on-one with halfbacks so often. It will be his entire fucking mission, entire season, and there's not too many guys in the league that just week to week are better than that. I think I said yesterday on Instagram Reel, it didn't shock me that as soon as Kalen Ponga finally had a halfback that understood the game and understood the basics of it. He wins a Dahlia medal in 15 weeks. Like, not a coincidence at all.
I mean, he's a real good foil to Ponga's attacking output. So,
100%, yeah.
Imagine being a defender and looking up, and you've got Haystow with ball out in front, and then you got Best lining up. Marzu, the beast, is out there on the wing. Big fucking Tyson Frizzell is charging at you, and KP ready to goose step the fuck out of you around the back. Like, what do you do? Hands on heads, not playing anymore. I'd be pulling a hammy. I'm done. Coach, get me off. I don't want any part of this. Fuck this. It is going to be special that night's left. All right, let's move on. Des Hasler's effect on the Titans, especially the forward pack. So Wook and I were touching on this when we were talking about David Fifita and Tino especially. What's your thoughts here, girl? I have heard you speak a little bit about this, obviously taking your mind back to Des Hasler when he was coaching Manly and how he was rotating his forwards. What's your thoughts here? Is it going to impact these Titans players, especially these guns that you're going to have to pay up big for? And I'm talking about David Fifita and Tino.
Yeah, I think you definitely need to take it into consideration. There's a number of factors out there at the Titans that has me worried. Obviously, as a Supercoach prospect, I should say, I'm very excited about it as an NRL side. But as a Supercoach prospect, Des Hasler, similar to Wayne Bennett, well known for completely fucking Supercoach forwards. You
can add Todd Payton to that.
Yes, fair. He's starting to grow in that realm, yes. But Desi Hasler, he's on Mount Rushmore, you know. He
yes, he is.
I was talking to my mate Steve, who won our comp last year, who's very good at Supercoach draft, and he drafted Fifita last year. So he's obviously a little bit higher on him than the average there. But he sort of said to me that he doesn't see any concerns with them whatsoever. And I just sat there and went, oh, I'm sorry, but he is – there are a lot of concerns that, for me, don't make him an absolute slam dunk. I think the other thing you need to consider, and I think it's very unlikely, but with Beau Fermor returning, like, he was carving on the left edge before he got injured. And, you know, who's the better option on the left edge? I think it's Fifita 100%. Don't get me wrong. But if Fermor can play well on the left edge, and you know Fifita can be as dominant on either side of the fucking field, you might see Fifita jump over the other side. I don't think it'll happen, but when you're drafting your – you know, like I think in some comps based on averages last year and, you know, the way that people think the Titans are going to improve, I think Fifita could go 6, 7 around that mark.
That's where I think we've got him pegged at about 7 or 8.
So for me, I'd be looking elsewhere. Like I'd be definitely going a guy like Scotty Drinkwater before I go with Dave Fifita.
I honestly think they'd be crazy moving Fifita across back to the right. He changed the way he was playing last season. He started to take the game a bit more serious. He was definitely doing the tough stuff. And from an NRL perspective, he wasn't drifting in and out of games. He was in there doing the hard work, which you haven't really seen from him before. That excited me. And I think a lot of that had to do with Foran. Yeah. And I think Foz has been a really good influence on him.
Speaking of Foz, is because obviously Desi coming in, having a relationship with Foz, do you think Desi goes to Foz first up, probably the first person he talks to in this team, and goes, what am I doing here? What should I change? What are you liking?
And Foz wasn't there when Fermor was playing either, was he?
So is it a case of Foz going, don't take Fifita away from me. I need him next to me. I'm working with him. It's going well. Touch anyone else, but the combination I've got with Dave Fifita is working, so just leave it. And maybe, Foz is one of the only blokes that Desi had listened to.
And I think there's every chance that plays out. But once again, this is Des Hasler we're talking about.
Yeah.
The more common sense you try to apply, probably the further you can get away from it. So, you know what, like the beauty of this, that unless you're one of those Muppets that's fucking drafting on Feb 1, you will hopefully get to see at least 1 or 2 trials. And if you haven't got your eyes painted on, you should be at least be able to see which side of the field Fifita and Beau Fermor are standing on. So we'll have more information when we get there. But I don't know. He's just had a long history of just screwing around with Supercoach forwards that I just don't trust. And I think with Fifita, he's going to be a decade-long guy there. He's now playing Origins. He's playing internationals. Like, his schedule's just getting busier and busier. He's injured right now. He had to have off-season surgery as well. So, like, there's just...
He's not a certainty for round 1.
No, he's not. And that's the other thing as well. You might not see him in trials. And what the fuck are we going to do if we get to trials and Beau Fermor, because Fifita's not there, is lining up on his edge? which there is every chance that's going to play out, and you get to draft day and you're trusting that your number one pick is this juggernaut second row playing outside Kieran Foran, when he could end up outside Tanner Boyd on the weaker side for the rest of the season. I don't think he will. It's a big punt to take.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because
flipping the side of the coin, though, where do you take Fermel coming off an ACL? Do you take him at all? Or do you let him become someone else's problem?
Another guy that I think will be very, very popular. He's going to be very relevant in Classic. He's going to be spoken about. He's going to be on everyone's radar. Beau Fermor. I probably
a lot less risky in Classic, obviously.
Heaps less risky. Yeah, for sure. But once again, if we get to trials and he's running outside Kieran Foran, his stocks are going to absolutely skyrocket. There's every chance he probably could be. It wasn't that long ago we were looking at Beau Fermor. Everyone tipping him, he'll play Origin next year. So I think he'll be a very popular guy. He's an attacking guy. And I sort of, before I looked at his stats, because it's been so long since I've seen Beau Fermor play footy, I just sort of went,
mate, you forgot his name.
Forgot his name. You just think, he averaged well because he scored a lot of tries. Then you actually look at his stats, and he's base stat averaging like a high 45 to 50 sort of range from memory.
Which is sexy.
10 tries. So let's say halves that. That's still a great season.
Rule of thumb, though, in draft is never draft someone with it coming off an ACL. Well, the first year back from an ACL anyway.
Well, that's a new rule that I'm employing for sure.
It's always been a rule. You just ignored it last year.
Yeah, that's true.
but I also think there's so many people that apply that rule that there becomes value in these guys. And Fermor might have averaged 60 2 years ago. I wouldn't draft him at a 60 average, but I'm confident he can get a 52, 53 average, which there's great value there all of a sudden.
And that is the caveat behind everything that we say, right, is that, yes, we're saying, okay, there's risk behind Fifita, there's risk behind Tanner, there's risk behind Fermor, but at some point in a draft, these cunts need to be taken because of value. You need to be like water. You need to keep your head on a swivel. And if people are taking heed of these risks and they let them slide, then it's worth the risk at some point in the draft. So that's behind everything that we talk about here. And that's the fun of the draft, isn't it? Because it's like, look, if he's at this pick, I'm not at big, but if he slips 2 or 3 more picks past that.
Exactly right.
Hello.
A really good time to point out and remind people that with a lot of guys, I know myself anyway, this time of the year, I'm looking for the negatives of blokes because a guy like Fifita, do I need to point out to you guys that he's hard to fucking tackle and every time he gets into dummy up?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what the upside is, but the downside is what you need to be aware of coming into a season like this.
Yep. And selfishly, I like to put out as much negative press about players as possible and hope that the people in my league are listening so that it muddies the water a little bit. And then all of a sudden, hello, that draft value just pops into my lap. And don't lie, Guru. You know you do it.
Don't know what you're talking about, boys.
I knew you were going to say that. I reckon
no comment.
The one guy that really worries me about in that whole situation is Tino, because big boy, I think his minutes get cut. He's a guy that I like. It'd have to be fantastic value for me to take. I'm more confident.
You got Palissy coming in. You got a fit Joe Majoloff again.
And we know Desi likes to rotate his big boys and keep them fresh. You know what I mean? Yeah. Does he need to play Tino at 65 minutes like he has been? Probably not. I mean, it's great for us when he plays 65 minutes, but Desi doesn't give a fuck about Supercoach. So he's the one I'm really worried about, and I'll let him slide. Yeah. Actually, I'll just let him be someone else's problem, to be honest.
The only thing about Tino that makes him appealing is the duel.
Yep.
One of the very few.
That is going to be absolute gold.
Are there duels? Are there duels this year? Are there any?
No, I think they cancelled Jules.
Oh, fuck.
I think the other thing with Tino that, once again, you need to take into consideration the Desi Hasler factor, but I think that they are the sort of team, the Gold Coast Titans. I mean, I don't think any of us are expecting them to have a top 8 or a top 4 spot locked up in round 26, 27. I think there is every chance they're one of those teams that has to play late to make a finals charge. And you just know that if they're must-win games, I don't know if Des Hasler has any choice but to turn to, in my opinion, a top 2 front row forward in the world to play big minutes and create opportunities. So if you get an absolute slam dunk pick at number 1, like a 1, 2, or 3, I don't love it, but I can understand your thinking with Tino that by the end of the season, they're probably going to be desperate for him to play big minutes. But for the rest of the season, you better be damn confident that you're going to be able to compensate for Des Hasler's complete and utter fuckery for the rest of the year.
And if you're in a captain's league, he's not a slam dunk as a captaincy option in those periods. And like if you're spending possibly a turn pick on Tino,
well, he scored 6 tries. You just can't bank on that. I don't care who it is. You just can't
front row forward.
You just can't go into a season and expect that to be replicated. So that plus Desi, it's just too many alarm bells for me. All right, let's keep moving.
If you land like a Nathan Cleary and you've got first pick, and then you come back like in a comp like mine when you're pick 28 or something.
Oh, he won't slide the 28, surely.
Position stuff there, I can get it there, but then your next pick has to be another high ceiling guy, and even if you try and pair up with Nathan Cleary getting an Isaac Tungo or a Taylor May, whoever plays right center, that's probably the only time I can really understand it, but I still don't think it's going to be for me.
Yeah, I'm on the same page, brother. What about the Panthers lineup? Now, I've already soiled myself over the thought of Isaac Tungo playing right center. I just think everyone fucking wins in that scenario. Cleary wins, Tungo wins, To'o wins. Everything's just super scintillating for me, and I'm getting right up around it and behind it and in me.
Still playing on the left as well.
So does that happen, or does Taylor May play right center? What are the birdies saying? What are the whispers saying? Because I want it to be Tungo on the right.
Yeah, I don't have any solid mail on this one just yet, to be completely honest with you. But I think that, there's obviously going to be two spots available in that back line, depending on where Isaac Tungo lands and where Taylor May lands. The only thing that worries me with them is that, like Tyrone Peach is in the squad still as well.
And he played well last season.
He played well, yeah. There's obviously, Tom Jenkins who's come into the side as well. Sorry, he's up at Newcastle.
He went to the Knights.
But just with those two, I'm not quite sure where they land. I look at Taylor May, and I'm not sure if you guys have seen photos of him and stuff in the preseason, but he is built like a fucking house now. He to me looks like he's trained to be a centre, not a winger.
Sounds like he's been centre.
I
think Taruva's almost locked down that other wing spot though, isn't he? Maybe that's why you would assume so. Need to put on a bit of size.
I would say so. Yeah. So I think Isaac Tungo showed last year that he can play right, but I think that Taylor May is so fucking talented that it wouldn't shock me at all to see him land on the right as well. So obviously a big watch in trials, and similar to what we said with the Titans, I'm sure trial 1 or 2 it'll be very evident. Who's running out left and right side. But I think both of them are going to be very good grabs this year. Taylor May is going to be very popular because I think just about everyone will own him in Supercoach Classic.
For sure.
He'll be right up there. And obviously Isaac Tungo, CBA graduate class of 2022. Very popular pick as well. So keep your eyes out.
Yeah.
Got to give you raps there, brother, because nailed it.
And when are the CBA Academy hats coming out?
Yeah. Where's the merch? Surely it's in the pipeline. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. There you go, people. I'll just take my mind back to when Taylor May came on the scene and Isaac Tungo was playing left center, and the amount of ball that May got in good space, and how many tries he scored just because Tungo was so good with the ball out in front. I'm just looking at Tungo just going, finally, To'o's going to get someone that passes the ball. We know how good To'o has been with old glue hands Critter next to him. What's he going to be like with someone that's going to feed him ball in space? I mean, boggles the mind. It really does.
And this is the other thing that I think we're all I think Taruva's got that wing locked down, but mate, I said it before they debuted. That combination of Isaac Tungo and May, it was unbelievable. That was their first season of first grade together, and I thought they were, outside of South Sydney, probably the best left edge in rugby league. So those two have been playing together for a few years now. It's a combination that I I'd be very tempted to keep them together. But Taruva's done incredibly well as a premiership winner. Penrith have got so many options out there. And once again, Tyron Peach could come in and absolutely shit on all of us at any given moment.
It's a huge watch and wait, isn't it? It's Tungo, right, Center. Get inside me. Let me get inside you. All right, let's talk about some big risks here. So, Turbo, Pappy, KP, Teddy. What are we doing here? Where are we taking them? We had a bit of a chat about Turbo. You know, we're still all pretty high on Turbo just because of what we know he can be. Wook and I have talked about KP. We're all over KP's dick, and I'm sure you are as well, Guru. Like, he's a top 3 pick in our opinion. No matter what finals series you play or system you play, he's a top 3. Lock it down. So that's top 3 picks are locked regardless of what happens, in my opinion. Pappy coming off these injuries, and then how far does Teddy slide down? Do you know what I mean? There's some question marks here because I'm thinking about Teddy and we're sliding him. But again, like I said before, like there's a point in the draft where you go, hang on, this is fucking James Tedesco, and I'm picking him in the 3rd round. You got to. You have to.
It wasn't that long ago he was averaging at over 90.
Mate, he's apart from last year, he was the most consistent performer in draft over the last 4 years before that. So let's we've done Turbo. Let's talk about Pappy. What do you think about Pappy, Guru?
I will be leaving Pappy. I don't think he's going to be the one for me. You know what? If Pappy comes out in 2024 and averages 100 like he did when I had him 2 years ago, I'll just sit back and go, well done to the person that took that punt. But where you're going to have to take him, there's other guys I'd probably rather gamble on that. They might not score as many points as Pappy if he hits his ceiling, but I'm more confident they score those points than Ryan Pappenhausen. So, and you know what? That potentially that's a little bit hypocritical of me because I'm so keen on Turbo. I'm so keen on KP, who obviously have their injury concerns as well. But I'm just not convinced Pappy's going to be the same guy just yet. And you know what? He'll probably come out round 1 and we'll go, oh no, he's still that guy 100%. But it's just not a risk I want to take this year if I can avoid it.
Where do you think he'll slide to in draft, do you think?
I think that there will be blokes in competitions who will get to pick 8, 9 and just go, fuck it, I'll have a crack at him. Because I think there's a lot of...
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you say Jesus Christ, but like there's guys out there that want to win comps, not that want to be relevant. And when you've got an opportunity to potentially pick up a guy that could average 100 at pick 8, you know, why wouldn't you? Like I was sitting here at the end of last year going, fuck, if I'm pick 10, 11, 12, 13, I'm taking KP in an absolute heartbeat. And I got the same reactions going, Jesus, what the fuck's that about? He finishes the season averaging 105 for the last 10 weeks. Like I like, and a lot of people were anti.
I'm not pushing back on the potential for Pappenhausen, but the pricks had 2 long-term injuries back to back. Like, I don't know. I just think the risk versus reward on what you'd be getting him for.
But you would have told me this time last year, KP can't stay conscious. Like a lot of people told me it was a stupid.
Well, mate, round 6 we could have been talking about exactly the same thing.
Yeah, KP, exactly right, 100%.
Yeah.
But like I think if you want to, especially if you're in a captain's league, I don't think personally, I don't like taking Pappy, but if you're taking pick 8, pick 9, I go, you know what? I respect you for that play because you're trying to win this fucking thing. You're not taking someone like Gutho. You're not taking a Cameron Munster, someone that's probably a Harry Grant, someone that's probably not going to win you a draft comp. They're going to make you relevant. I don't think you win it with them.
Yeah.
But if you're going all balls in and you take Pappy at 8 or 9, I go, respect. He's trying to win this fucking thing.
I'll be honest, man. I'd probably take him in the 2nd round. I probably wouldn't reach for him in the 1st, but I would probably take him in the 2nd round. Mid to late would be perfect. I am that guy. I'm ready to double down and go just because, like what you're saying is, if he comes back, and by all reports, it's going to be a mental struggle. It's probably not going to be his body.
Physical.
And I mean, we'll talk to Brian about it more in a few weeks. And it's hard to read into the situation, but you look at his social media, he doesn't strike me as a guy that is lacking in confidence or is struggling to gain motivation to get back on the park and play some really good football. So, I mean, I'm ready to take the risk just because, just say I get someone like Scotty Drinkwater or Walsh or KP or whatever it is, and, you just back it up with another fullback. Not only have I got fantastic trade capital there, I can have that guy on my bench. I can have that purge option in the finals as well. Or just say you have pick 1 or 2 and you grab a halfback and you've got Nico Hines or Nathan Cleary and you partner that pick with a Pappenhausen, and Pappenhausen does come back and just say he's 80% of what he was 2 years ago. Do you win the comp straight away? I think so.
Mate, 100%. And there is every chance we are sitting here in 12 months' time after Pappy's put together a full season going, okay, well, Pappy's an automatically a pick 4 or a pick 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's the reality of it. If we get to round 1 and KP knocks himself out and Turbo gets injured and Pappy averages 90 throughout the season, next year we're sitting here saying he has to be picked 3rd. It's a no-brainer. Same dude. You're just taking a bit more of a risk this year.
There's honestly not much difference between my outlook on Turbo and Pappy, to be honest. I sort of see them pretty similar. And I mean, I'll get more confirmation when we talk to Brian about the injuries and the ins and outs of return to performance or high performance, but they're both huge risks and they're both massive rewards. Like, you're talking about guys that if it all works out, you win comps.
The one thing with Turbo is, and the reason why I'm really high on Turbo is the injury that he had nothing to do with a lower leg injury.
100%.
And that's why I'm super keen and doubling down on Turbo himself. It's just Pappy has been so fucking unlucky with injuries. It was a freakish incident, that last one, and look, they say they come in threes, don't they?
It's funny with that injury though, because that was the best possible outcome in that injury. It was. So, yeah, I mean, that's it. We're not physios, we're not doctors, we don't know what the fuck's going on. No. But all I know is that he can break leagues open, Pappy, especially if you're a captain's league, and if he's averaging 90 or 100, you're going to be very hard to catch, especially if you pick him up.
Storm will be in the GF as well if he's branding it.
And then you look at Storm's strength of schedule across all final systems. That's another thing to consider. Storm have a very sexual run. So that's another thing to put on Pappy's shoulders as well. It's like, if I get this guy and he starts firing, I know he's going to be humming come finals time. Man, it's something to really think about. And plus, he owes me a good season anyway. I drafted him last year, for fuck's sake. You owe me a good season, Pappy. Shit.
I think as well for Pappy, when I look at him, and, it's all very if and but when you get to finals and whatnot, but round 27, if that's when your grand final is, which is when mine is, they play the Brisbane Broncos. For me, I think Brisbane will have a top 4 a spot locked up by then. Every chance Melbourne does too, as well, to be fair, but it's like you might get a Pappy going up against a baby Broncos sort of side there. And look, very ifs and buts sort of shit. But I can, as I said, I completely understand and respect someone that goes Pappy as their first pick at like 8, 9, 10. Once your big dogs, your Drinkwaters, and these sort of guys are gone. I personally think you are more likely to win a comp with Pappy than you are with Cam Munster.
Oh, 100%. I will agree with that.
100%. 100%. What about Teddy? What are we thinking happens with Teddy in drafts? Where do we think he slides to? Is he a chance to add a few points onto that average from last year? Obviously, a poor season for him, poor season for the Roosters, a lot of injuries, a lot of chopping and changing with personnel and positions. There's every chance that he can go better this season, but also he's another year older. Like, he is on his way out. What's your thoughts?
Every year there's a decision that I hope I don't have to make, and this is one of them. I have got no interest in trying to place where I would take James Tedesco. I will say this, the one thing, like Teddy, last year for me, incredibly disappointing. He averaged 69, which is good. I think, though, like, if he averaged 69 in a bad year 5 years ago, we're like, wow, that's unbelievable. Scores are generally starting to get higher and higher as the years go on now. You're looking at your top 2 and 3 picks that realistically at the end of the season, when you take out injury affected games, you want them to average 90, 95. It's a good whack below that. It's 20, 25 points below that. The one thing I will say about Teddy is that he's in a very rare position where people are sort of bagging him for the way he's playing and all that. And normally when you're underperforming, you need to do more. Personally, I think Teddy needs to do less.
He needs to do less.
Which is the one thing that makes me think maybe he can turn this around. But doing less could hurt his Supercoach score as well. So you might find that Teddy plays better footy, but he's letting go of the ball more and whatnot. It actually cost him Supercoach points, because the beauty of Teddy for the last few years has been that he runs the football so much. But for the 4 years leading up to this, no one could tackle the fucker. Now, seemingly, I could tackle him at the moment. That's the biggest worry. I think Teddy's got the potential to really turn around his NRL career, but for Supercoach wise, I don't think I'll be doing it. It's one that I'll be hoping to leave.
Does he get picked in State of Origin?
Fuck knows. Absolutely fuck knows. I don't know what they're going to do there. I don't know what Madge's plan's going to be. I wouldn't be surprised if Madge goes a little bit rogue with a couple of picks. But I'm not sure if fullback will be the spot that he does. I think if Teddy's form dictates selection early, I think he will be there. I think a lot of people are assuming the red Sharpies through Teddy's name. I don't think there's a hope in hell that his name's been crossed out at the moment.
No, not yet.
He's a player where I'm not interested in him. I'm not looking at him. But I'll be interested to see where he slides to. Put it that way. Like, I think there is going to be value to be had in Teddy. I think everyone's off him. I think people think, he's going to continue his regression because his scores have dipped every single year over the last 4 years. He hasn't really bounced back after a score the previous year. He slowly declined. So I think there is going to be value. There's always a Roosters fan somewhere in leagues that'll take him early, but I think in most leagues there's going to be value to be had in Teddy, and there's going to be a point in the draft. Well, I hope there's a point in the draft where I go, fuck me, we're talking about James Tedesco here, and I'm about to get him at pick 26.
Yeah, in 2020, average 95, 2021, 87, 2022, 79, 2023, 69. So there is a general trend and not in the right direction. So, I really do see him bouncing back possibly into the 70s this year, but yeah, it's a tough one to peg where he's going to go. I've got him around about round 3 somewhere, but yeah, I wouldn't really push back on too many people if they're going to take him in round 2.
I think the other advantage that needs to be spoken about with Teddy is that you have a look at his finals run. If your grand finals round 27 like mine is, he goes Parramatta, Titans, Canberra, South Sydney. So in my opinion, that's a pretty juicy little finals run. The grand final game against South Sydney, you're sort of like, fuck, they're a good footy side. That's not ideal. But I'll give you the hot tip. The Sydney Roosters captain will never be rested against the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Big advantage, in my opinion, knowing that you are going to have a top shelf guy playing in that week in a game that is going to be a war regardless of that. They could both be first and second and be, have home finals locked up for the next week, and they're still going to go all out.
They'll still play.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does have a pretty sexual run in most of the final systems, old Teddy. So who knows, baby? Who knows? Who knows? I've never actually owned him. I'd love to own him. But
I've owned him a couple of seasons, and look, he's solid returns every year.
Yeah, I personally still think he will, like in my competition, that's a 14-man league. I think he still goes round 1. I think he'll go late round 1 though.
Yeah.
And that still could be value.
He's that type of player that has that insane ceiling.
Yeah.
And you guys captain's league?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
So he's definitely one.
Not cowards. All right.
Not a Mickey in us league, are they?
Broncos backline. Now, Wook and I got a little bit of mail today by one of the rubbers, Dusty. Shout out to Dusty, giving us a little bit of inside mail into an opposed session that Broncos ran against, I don't know who the fuck, but had Cobbo. It was at right center, wasn't he?
Yep.
Yep. And
no, Left side.
left center, and Mariner on the wing, and Raps on
Right
both
wing.
of them.
Mm.
So interesting. What's your thoughts here, Cobbo? First thoughts, I was like, I don't like it, but I'm warming to the idea.
I think he'll actually do well at centre. I like him there. Supercoach wise, he's probably not a play for me. I think off name alone, he'll go a little bit earlier than where I'm willing to take him. I think Mariner will be an interesting one out on that right wing. I think he'll be a guy that'll be drafted by plenty. But from what I've heard,
coming off that average that he had last season.
Yeah, from what I've heard though, Corey Oates is looking very fit up there.
I love Corey Oates.
I love Corey Oates as well. I think he's a very good player. He just re-signed for a year on unders. I think the other thing you need to consider as well is that Herbie Farnworth has left the club, who was their main meter eater coming out of their own end. Having a bloke that fucking looks like a horse like Corey Oates returning the ball out of their own end, I think they're all going to need to have a bit of an uptick there. I'm not sure what Dean Mariner's works like out of his own end, to be completely honest with you, but we know that Stags won't fucking do it. I'm not convinced that Selwyn will do it. Jesse Arthur's in the grand final.
Jesse Arthur's, he is a meter eater.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Corey Oates does end up in that side. And you have a look at them like, they've just lost a grand final in heartbreaking fashion. Kirk Hatewell's left, probably their most experienced player, not named Adam Reynolds. I just think the experience of Corey Oates wouldn't go astray out there. And I had a report from someone the other day that they were having a little game of touch, and Dean Mariner made a line break the other day, and he was run down by one Oates, C. So I think it sort of made people look around a little bit. So read into what you will, if true, false,
Oates has come to play.
But yeah, I think Corey Oates is going to be a very interesting guy that come trials, I think he's going to get more and more interesting.
Yeah, I love that. Corey Oates, young.
The base scores for Dean Mariner last season was 16, 16, 24, and 21. So I don't think there's much there.
Little side story about Corey Oates when we were on the country tours last year up at Rockhampton, where the Oates family's from, I believe. They all up there obviously call him Coatsy. They all love him. And the younger brother they call Shoatsy, which is short for shit Oatsy. Which I thought was my time fucking nickname.
You'd move countries, wouldn't you? Where no one knows your brother.
Mate, you can choose your friends. You can't choose your
start up a new life in Switzerland somewhere. Fuck it, hell, that is savage.
That's rough.
That is savage.
That's rough.
No, I'm big on Oatsy, and
it's probably fair,
the thing that, like I said, the thing that you love about Oatsy is the work that he does coming at their own end. He's usually got a base, just a solid base, pure base of 30 to 35, and then you add on to that, a little bit of try scoring and attacking upside as well. So that's one to keep an eye on.
Once upon a time, he saw himself as a second rower.
I love that play that they were doing where they're attacking the line at 20-25 around there, and then he is just steaming onto the fucking ball at 1,000,000 miles an hour, coming off an angle back towards the post. Who the fuck is stopping that? It's almost like the defense just go, no, you can have this one. Fuck that. So yeah, I love him.
I was watching him on that play when they didn't give him the ball, and he was standing there going, I just ran a fucking 800 to have a dummy thrown to me for no apparent fucking reason.
Just give me the ball, boys. Let me do the rest. Get out of the way. All right, this is going to be an interesting one for all three of us because we're big on this, and that is who is going to play left edge back rower for the Sharks. We are all big Billy Burns fans here on the wire, and so it's no surprise that we all want Billy to get the shot here, but Guru, is there any mail on maybe does he get the shot? We know how fucking much a liability Teague Wilton is in defense.
Does Teague Wilton get a chance to prove himself defensively this season?
I'll tell you what, I think this situation is wildly interesting, and I posted something the other day on social media, and it got absolutely pounded into the core of the fucking earth by Cronulla fans. You would think Teague Wilton was Gavin fucking Miller the way that people reacted.
These can't see Billy Burns play. Fuck me. Obviously not.
And look,
he was playing for the Dragons.
I don't think Billy Burns is the greatest defender in the world, but I think people are just automatically
compared to Wilton.
going,
possibly.
geez, Teague Wilton, it wasn't his fault. It was Moylan's fault. And I'm sitting there going, you know what? Moylan wasn't a great
Moylan's
defender,
a scapegoat, man.
but he's a massive scapegoat for me. I think the other thing with Wilton, and it might be a hot take or it might be harsh or whatever, but like I drafted Wilton, I think round 7 last year. I was massively high on him. I got to round 10 and went, I have got to trade this guy. He can't tackle. This cannot last any longer. I traded him in a heartbeat, and I personally think, and the take of a lot of people is, well, obviously the person to replace Wade Graham will be the guy that had the spot before. I think that T getting injured last year saved him. I just think it was a matter of time, and I cannot believe how many people have failed to see it. And if I'm wrong, I will wear it every day of the week. But I think Wilton has got a lot of defensive issues that people are scapegoating on the guys either side of him.
I mean, as an owner of Wilton last season, I was watching every single Sharks game on the knife edge thinking, surely he's going to get hooked. He was clearly at fault for this try. And like, considering Fitzgibbon is such a defense-minded coach, I was surprised that it's gone on for so long. And like, that left edge needed shoring up like whole season.
This is the whole thing with Craig Fitzgibbon. Why do we think he's a defensive-minded coach, just out of interest, just based on how he played himself? Because at no point has he shown that he's a defensive-minded coach. Wasn't
that part of his role at the Roosters prior to leaving to come to the Sharkies?
Sure, but since he's been a head coach, what have you seen?
Oh no, nothing since he's been a head coach.
Exactly.
No,
like it just nothing. And the one thing that worries me, and the reason why I actually agree with people that are saying Teague Wilton get the first shot. If he gets the first shot, the only reason why he gets it is because Craig Fitzgibbon seemingly refuses to make changes ever. He keeps the same team. Like, how long did it take until he made a change with Moylan? It took forever. Talakai, I'm not sure if he deserves to get brushed from centre, but at no point did he try anything different last year, Craig Fitzgibbon. So I'm not saying that Wilton's not a chance to get there. I probably reckon he is the favourite to get there based on how Craig Fitzgibbon coaches. But there are serious issues there that I think could get shown up very quickly. The one advantage Wilton has got is that the Cronulla Sharks opening 5 rounds is absolute fucking bliss. I don't have it in front of me, but I remember thinking that might be saving grace there. But I think Billy Burns in a good system, I think he can do really well.
Yeah, Billy Burns is very interesting. I mean, just going back to Teague Wilton, his defensive deficiencies, and it's funny when you talk about like people blaming Moylan or Sifa Talakai, but the thing is, like, if Wilton makes a bad read in defense, he doesn't have to actually miss a tackle. But if he makes a bad read and is in the wrong position, who actually looks bad in that situation? It's the players around him. So you may look at that play and go, oh, they ran through Moylan like, a fucking hot knife through butter. And you go, oh, Moylan's the issue. But you look back and you look and rewind, you go, hang on. Old mate wasn't even in the fucking right position to help him in defense. And that was the issue with Wilton. It was he's missing his assignments and making Moylan and Sifa Talakai look bad. So, yeah, the funny thing about Wilton is he averages 60.
Yeah.
And easily.
And that's where if it looks like he has locked down that spot,
you still take him.
I'll take him in Supercoach. Because I know Craig Fitzgibbon probably won't make the change, and that's the reality of it. But I look at Teague Wilton, and there's two differences in rugby league sometimes. Sometimes there's bad tacklers and there's bad defenders. And from what I've seen, he's a bad defender. He doesn't have the IQ in defense that he needs at the moment. And Wade Graham came in on that edge. Wade Graham was slow as a wet week. He couldn't move laterally, but he had the IQ, and he managed to put out that edge very, very quickly. And that's it's blown me away how many people, and maybe I'm wrong, and I'm happy to wear it if so, but it has blown me away how many people just haven't seen it with Wilton.
Just something.
I'm really surprised that they let Tracy go.
Yeah, they've got a number of young
and use Talakai off the bench. Like I don't know.
They've got a fair depth there in the back line, the Sharks. And the thing is, like, someone was always going to throw big money at Connor Tracy, and he has to take it. Like we've been saying for the last couple of seasons, like, who the fuck is going to sign Connor Tracy because he deserves to be in a starting side somewhere? And
I thought he was going to do a mid-season switch to the Eels at some point, but
Mail was wildly strong that was going to happen, and it just never eventuated.
Just evaporated, yeah.
Something to leave you with Billy Burns before we move on. He played 10 games last season. In 80-minute games, he averaged 59, and he had 6 total try involvements in 10 games playing for the Dragons. Just let that soak in while we move on. South back rowers. Another really interesting story here because there's a ripple effect that's going to happen here, right? And now the whispers are, Guru, that obviously Tallis Duncan might get the shot at left edge, at right edge back row, and Colin Matangi is going to move to the left. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was told a couple of months ago that Tallis Duncan would be a starting edge back rower, so I just assumed it was going to be left side. And I posted a thing the other day saying how I believe he will be on the left, and got a lot of messages from people saying, no, he's on the right. Keon's on the left side at training, and I sort of went, fuck, surely that can't be right. Reached out to
what a waste.
Someone at South Sydney, and yeah, apparently it's spot on. Apparently Keon's going to play left edge. Tallis is going to play right. Cam Murray will be in jersey 13. Jai Arrow will be in middle.
Yep.
So very, very interesting. And, in no huge shock to anyone, Jack Whiten will be left center, which I think the right edge will sort of be one of, the right wing will either be Tass or Young Tass, but I think it will be Tass. I believe they're going to start Ty Munro in reserve grade at fullback to give him a bit of a go there. So, that's the decision.
That'd be good for his development, won't it?
Be fantastic. It'll be unreal. Yeah.
So obviously for draft purposes here, we'll start with Tallis Duncan. So in the 4 games that he played over 30 minutes, he had a PPM of 1.38, which is ludicrous, which you can have a PPM like that when you're playing such low minutes. But what it shows us is that he gets involved. He's young, indestructible, wants the ball, wants to be involved. All great things for draft. Or Supercoach in general, really. And on that right edge where we're starting to see Lachlan Ilias like to use his edge back rowers. And Wook and I talk about this ad nauseum, talking about halfbacks or 5'8s that like to use their edge back rowers. It's part of their DNA, these players like DCE, Dylan Brown, Nico Hines, guys that it's one of their first instinct is to look where their edge back rower is and give them early ball or short ball close to the line. So I think Lachlan Ilias is evolving into that play, which is great for Tallis Duncan. But is it great for Colin Matangi moving to the left? Now, we know Cody Walker isn't one of those halves that I'm talking about that likes to use the edge back row. It's more of a play where he's setting it up and it's a nice ball out the back to a sweeping Latrell Mitchell, who then likes the nice cutout ball to his winger. So if the South Sydney Rabbitohs line up like you're saying, Guru, is it yes, we're on Tallis Duncan, and no, we're off Colin Matangi?
Yeah, I think where you'll have to take Keon, it's probably a no from me. I don't know. I just that left edge back row for South Sydney has just been the best decoy in rugby league for a long 100%. Period. And I don't know.
Bloody hell, Colin Matangi would be a fantastic decoy.
An unreal decoy. And, I don't know if maybe it's a case of, okay, maybe the left edge back rowers out there for the last decade haven't been the most talented guys in the world. So maybe it's just played out that way. I don't know if it's the best way they like to play their footy. But I'll tell you what, if I'm signing, in my opinion, one of the best centers in the game, Jack Whiten, I'm going to utilize him. There's a reason why I've brought him. And if I've already got the most dominant left edge of just about all time, realistically, I'm not going to change much. I don't know. Yeah. And we know Cody Walker loves to go himself, loves to play at the back, doesn't tend to use his back rowers all that much. But granted, he's never had a back rower like Leon. So I don't know. I think it's another one of those classic ones that I am more than happy to sit back. And if at the end of the season, Keon averages 60, 65, I go, yep, fair shout. Good on the person who took that punt. But it's not one I'm willing to take. Tallis, talk to me. Good God. And I also think Tallis is one of those guys that I reckon he will link up with Campbell Graham plenty of times throughout this season. And I think that's a really achievable little stack that you're able to get there. I am very high.
I think of the offloads leading to tries.
The offloads, Campbell Graham's always pushing through, especially in that South Sydney side. The reality is their fullback, he's a weapon, but he's not the greatest support player in the world. So I think there's plenty of opportunities that Tallis will create, that Campbell Graham will be there to pick up on. I think there's plenty of opportunities that, Tallis, very similar to Cam Murray, he'll be pushing up on the inside of everything as well. I'm really high on Tallis. I do think, though, that he'll be wildly popular in Classic.
Fuck. Stop it.
Yeah, he'll be. He's a must-have in Classic. So
yeah, I think you will have to go very early on Tallis. But if I'm able to lock down a Campbell Graham round 2, round 3, I would go very early on Tallis as well.
A lot to like about Tallis Duncan. Name, starters, nice.
Yep.
Wears headgear, tick. Takes the headgear off. He's hot, tick. I mean, get him in my side for fuck's sake.
Buff dude.
One of the buffest ever. Thanks for coming. I mean, tick, 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 tick. Tallis Duncan, part of the Eskimo Bros 2024.
Just another guy as well. Once again, plays for South Sydney. Was a Roosters junior coming through, so you know that he'll be up and about come round 27 when it might be grand final week for you. He's gone up against his former club, which he'll be ready to rip and tear against. And I'm just off the top of my head, right? Does that mean he'll be going at one of Sam Walker or Luke Keary with which I love the matchup.
Keary, yep.
Gun. Thanks for coming.
Yep.
Either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like Duncan. Like me a bit of Duncan. That is good. All right, let's stick with the Bunnies. Jack Whiten at center. So usually he's a bloke that I just don't touch. Honestly, he's not. I delete him from my pre-draft list. I don't even want to know about him. He's just so wildly inconsistent and has never been relevant enough for me to even look at him. So that's at 5'8", obviously, for the Raiders. Do things change playing center for the Bunnies? Knowing what I just said about Cody Walker and how much he likes to go at the back, is he just another block play? Is he going to play more of the Isaiah Tass role where he's just running really straight, hard lines and it's just giving Alex Johnston space? And that's really the question we need to answer here is for draft is
he's an infinitely harder runner than Tass.
Is Johnston the go? Because he's going to get more space because defenses are going to be looking more at Jack Whiten, or are we going to punt on Jack Whiten getting short balls and playing? We've seen him play center and he can fucking score tries and he can play really well. So it's just a hard one because I'm leaning towards Alex Johnston being the beneficiary, especially now you're talking about Colin Matangi coming in. I mean, how much fucking talent is there inside of Alex Johnston that is going to compress defenses? All of a sudden there's going to be space on the edge there and Latrell's going to have that nice floater or that cutout ball out to Johnston and he could fucking get back to scoring 25, 26 tries. Talk to me, Guru.
Yeah. You might need to hold off because I think we've lost Guru.
I have no idea. No, I'm still here.
All right.
I have no idea what's going to happen with this edge. I think you make wildly valid points for all of them, but there's every chance that AJ scores half the amount of tries he does last year because simply Jack Whiten doesn't pass him the fucking football because he's a run first dude. There's every chance that South Sydney keep doing what they're doing and cut out their center constantly to find AJ and he scores 25 tries. I can't imagine the world from what I know and what I know of how close Latrell and Jack Whiten are. I just can't see him faceballing him all season. That's
interesting.
Happening.
That's interesting.
And, I think for a lot of people, they'll go, Jack Whiten, he'll score more tries at South Sydney. He's a guy that I like. I have a look through his scores last season when he scored tries. Scored a try in round 1, scored 47. Scored a try in 2, scored a try in round 4. Scored 35.
Feces.
Scored a try in round 9, to be fair. Scored 133 against the Dolphins. Good knock. Scored a try in round 15, 38 points. Scored a try in round 17, 73 points. Fair play. And then scored a try in round 21 and scored 47. So
yuck.
In try-scoring games, Jack Whiten last year, I would say if you take out that huge outlier of 133, you're looking at an average of about 48, I would say, off the dome there. I don't know. I'm happy to leave Jack Whiten if we're sitting here next year saying, okay, Jack's a genuine Supercoach option. Good as gold. I'll deal with that then, but it's not a risk I'm willing to take heading into next year. Once again, you don't know if all this shit at South Sydney sorted out. They could be a basket case still. I don't know.
But it's pretty wild that they've taken the 5'8" away from him as well.
Yeah, it's
Right at
bullshit.
the
I
season
don't.
starter.
I don't.
I can't fucking believe that.
Yeah.
I'm so fucking annoyed
Yeah, that is very frustrating
for a position that was already fucking really tough.
And you know what? I'm happy for them to do it like this, but stick to it. Don't just.
Yeah.
It's like it just gets made up every.
It's just willy nilly.
Yeah. If this
Rob,
is how you're going to do
Rob
it,
Sutherland gets fucking drunk and just makes some fucking weird ass decisions.
Yeah. And I think has KP missed out on 5'8" again this year, despite him playing first half of the season there last year. Which once again, if this is how we're going to do it,
It was supposed to be 4 games the previous season. If they played 4 games, they'd be considered a duel for that position.
Just be consistent with whatever the fuck you settle on, and just let us know what you settle on as well. Which hopefully they will. You know, to the boys' credit, the game hasn't actually opened yet, so hopefully we get a clear understanding of what's happening. But history tells me we probably won't.
Yeah. Nah, Jack White, not for me. Again, like that was me going the long way around.
Shock horror.
That was me going the long way around to say, yeah, never again. No, thank you. What about the Roosters back rowers? Some more guys that fucking interest me here. Nat Butcher, I'll start with him. Big on him. But also, who's going to get that other spot? Or does Nat Butcher move in through the middle rotation? Do we get to see Wong plus a Satili or a Gussie Crichton? There's a lot of what ifs, what have yous.
They're carrying 4 of the best back rowers in the league.
Like if I was just going to guess, I would say, look, you stick with Nat Butcher because he's the only cunt that's been there and doing the job consistently week in, week out. But I mean, I've got no idea. But all I know is there's huge value to be had here in the Roosters side in the back row position.
I will draft Wong. I guarantee you I will draft Wong. I am more than happy to go very early on him. I will probably go.
Let me write that down. Wong.
Okay.
W-O-N-G.
We'll cut this part of the pod. All right.
Wong.
Wong.
And if you said to me confident Wong starts round 1, I'm not, to be honest with you. But I just think as the season goes on, I think it is just, you guys know how I felt about this kid for a long time. I just think it's going to be undeniable.
Is he the CBA candidate for this year?
Probably not, because he played too many games last year. I was very disappointed, to be honest with you, to see him play so many games at the end of last season. I was hoping we'd be able to keep
he played fucking well as well.
Yeah, and you know what I love about Wong is that, and Natty, you can talk more about it being a Roosters fan, but he saved his best games of the year for the biggest stages. He was fucking dynamic in the finals. That offload that he threw against Cronulla, I think it was, to Joey Manu, like that just looked like Sonny Bill to me.
Sexual.
And that's just what he reminds me of. He reminds me so much of Sonny Bill, and I know that's a high mark to send. I'm not saying he will be the next Sonny Bill, but I think he could be the closest thing we've seen to SBW. I watched him play through the junior grades as well. He played a lot of 13 coming through, so he can play edge, he can play middle, he can just do everything Wong. And I felt like you could just feel in those last few games of the season, especially in finals, I felt like Terrell May was the same, that these boys started to realize, okay, I'm not holding on in first grade anymore. I can be a dominant fucking force in this grade. And I think Wong has a huge season. But the worry is, if Angus Crichton gets back to his best, like they've got an Australian second rower sitting on their bench, maybe playing middle.
Satili's not a bad.
He's not a bad. I'm not the biggest Satili fan in the world. He's just got a few too many errors in his game for me. But like they re-signed him on a 2-year deal the other day. I would have put my house on Satili Tupouniua would have been out the door. It just made sense to me. His brother's up at Newcastle. I thought there was every chance he landed up there. To sign him on a 2-year deal, that almost doesn't make sense to me. And mate, if Wong is firing and if Angus Crichton's at his best, in my opinion, both are better second rowers than Nat Butcher, and it's not close. So
Nat Butcher does a lot of strong work, and he's very consistent. But he doesn't have that upside that you see from.
And not too many guys do. That's the reality of it. So I don't even think Nat Butcher's a safe pick. Like you could give me 8 different combinations of second rowers, and I say you could see all of those by round 15.
And that's what I talked about when we did the 2RF podcast. Is like I'm big on Nat Butcher, but there's 2 schools. There's the school where we're coming off a season where he averaged 63. his CV was great. His base was great. He was fantastic. But you take your mind back to 22 when he did have Walker next to him, and they went on a run together where he scored 7 tries in 7 games. And that's what he can be in this Roosters side with Walker next to him. And you're like, okay, there's actually more ceiling here when that Butcher coming off a 63 average. Or the other school of thought is he starts playing middle and he's coming off the bench. And both scenarios are just as likely as the other. Do you know what I mean? So
and the beneficiary of all those tries next to Walker will be either Wong or Crichton potentially. Like, where do we think we'd take Angus Crichton? Because like he's a player that could legitimately average 70, but he's also conversely a player that could just be in the middle rotation.
Just need more information, don't we? It's just fucking
it's a fucking real tough one to like peg down.
I don't know where I would take Gussie. I just you know, I actually don't know where I'd take him that I'd even be happy with him. Like, even if you get him round 7, round 8, like, okay, I've got a great name there, but if he's not getting the points, who gives a fuck where you got him? Like,
if he's not in the starting side, it's not like he's getting the Maddo type role in Eels. He's not getting the minutes or the scores from that. So
that's the other thing. Like, if he is playing as a middle forward, like, and I think a lot of people are looking at the Roosters and going, oh, you know, there's only 3 forwards on the bench. They run with an extra hooker. Yes, sweet. Their hooker comes off and he's a middle forward. Like, as soon as he comes off, it becomes a 4-forward bench. Radley tends to play pretty decent minutes. I just don't know where Angus gets those big minutes if he's not starting on the edge. I don't know. I will say this: fucking Vegas round 1, the field is 5 meters thinner than a normal NRL field. And that butcher could average fucking 90 in base stats on that field just quietly.
Yeah.
Heads
up, I'll be taking heavy unders and heavy 1 to 12 results.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Sign me up, baby.
Unders is fucking begging for it.
Yep. Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah. All right, let's keep the vibe of the show rolling. Let's talk about the Raiders fullback. Now, it's going to be Xavier Savage or it's going to be Chevy Stewart. I know, Guru, you're a big Chevy fan. Love the name. Very sexy. I was huge on Savage.
Is it a season early for Chevy?
Yeah, it is. I love him. I think he's got a huge future in our game. He's a really good kid too. Played Harold Matson SG Ball at the Sharkies, then made his way down to Canberra Raiders. Sharkies were devastated to lose him. But yeah, I don't think he's ready right now, to be completely honest with you. A lot of people talking about Ethan Strange, who dominated in that under-19s game. And I don't want to take anything away from that under-19s game, but I've got to tell you, I don't give a fuck. It's not against men. It's completely different. We've learned this with Toyota Cup. We've learned this 1,000 times before. For me, if I go and watch Ethan Strange dominate a New South Wales Cup game, that means more to me than under-19s Origin. And people laugh at that and think it's stupid.
And fuck,
but it's the reality.
How many Ethans branded in that game anyway?
Yeah, there was a couple of Ethans. You were very unlucky not to be named Ethan in that game. But yeah, I
what are your best Wooker? Nice off the cuff too. Wow.
Yeah, I reckon there's every chance Chevy gets the one to start the season. God, I find it funny. We're in the depths of preseason. You know, people said, oh, Xavier Savage was pictured the other day at a training session wearing the 1 jersey. I'm going, yeah, it's probably one of the jerseys that fits him, you fucking muppets. So they're not making the decision in December, January, who's going to be their fullback. And if you watched any of the New South Wales Cup last year, Savage was playing wing, so Chevy could play fullback. Like,
yeah.
I had someone send me a message yesterday of a picture of Will Warbrick, and standing next to him was the kid from Gerringong. What's his name? Tyron Wishart. Someone said to me, he's playing center. I went, no, he's probably not. They probably just stood next to each other at training at some point. The overreading that goes into some of these images at training and whatnot, like, for all you know, they're sitting next to each other, they're stretching.
Bro, do you remember the Campbell Graham watch that was going on social media?
God, yeah.
Oh my god, I remember that.
Wow, good gear, good gear.
You see like a right side player, but in the photo you can see their right shoulder, so you assume that means they're standing on the left side of the field, which means that, like, just chill the fuck out. Wait for
they were going. Today at training I saw Campbell Graham pass the ball right to left.
Yeah.
He'll be playing left edge. It's like, so he at training he can only pass left to right. Like he's only allowed to pass left to right. That doesn't make sense.
It's something that blows me away. You go and watch any NRL training session around the fucking country, from under 18s to first grade to state of origin. They all start their warm-up sessions by doing hands, where they're all in a line, swapping positions, swapping spots. And that tends to be when the photographer's there. It's just, it's carnage. But I'll tell you what I am really worried about with that fullback position, that we spend all preseason working out where we take Xavier Savage, working out where we take Chevy Stewart, and then Ricky Stewart gets around one and goes, here's a Seb Chris for you. Enjoy.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, do we see a world where Kyle Weeks gets plonked there?
Potentially, he's another one. He could get picked anywhere. And what worries me is that I don't think Ricky will pick KO Weeks, Ethan Strange, and Chevy Stewart. I think he'll probably only pick one of them, maybe two of them, because I just think the spine's too young if you're going all in on these guys.
Yeah, it's hard because, I mean, if you can remember, guys, I was pretty fucking big on Xavier Savage last year, and then he just disappeared off the face of the fucking planet and made me look like an idiot. But he did. Well, that's true. That's true. Bravo, Savage just
life imitating art,
pulled the curtain back on me and let everyone know who the real Natty. But in 80-minute games, he did average over 60 at fullback for the Raiders the back end of season in 2022. So he does have that potential in him. And a guy, is there another CTW fullback that has a chance to play fullback for their team at the moment? I'm asking the question. Like, is there? We've been fucked with Jules here. He might be the only guy that's playing fullback for an NRL side that is also dual CTW.
Yeah, and look, I also think and you know what, you make a really good point. That I could not believe when I opened up Xavier Savage's scores.
Jaden Campbell.
It felt like to me he was having an absolute shocker of a season. He was all over the place. But you're right, he was mounting on 60-point games quite regularly. So if he does get the gig, he becomes interesting. But the other thing is, and this is what's going to make it so fucking hard. I'm pretty sure Seb Chris is suspended for the first few games of the year. I think he's missing.
Yeah,
he is too.
He is.
So he's not going to know what Seb is until he comes back, which. Once again, Ricky Stewart rule out. Yep. I love all these young kids. I think they're all a little bit too raw. And with the Seb Chris wild card coming back in 3 weeks' time, I don't think I can go near them.
And is he suspended? Does that rule him out of the trials as well?
I have got no idea what rules the NRLs are going to make on the eve of those games.
Okay.
They always fucking do that.
And it's not like you can look at Seb Chris's games at fullback and go, "Oh, he's not a fullback. We can't play him there." He was solid as fuck.
He kind of grew into the position, to be honest.
He was solid. He wasn't a world beater. He wasn't like one of the best fullbacks in the game, but by no means was he a liability at fullback for the Raiders in 2023. So
he was very short.
Yeah.
He was one of the reasons why they were stunted in attack, though, because he didn't really give them that other option in attack.
Yeah, but mate, they've been stunted in attack for 6 years. Let's be fucking honest here. They've never been a free-flowing side. That's why I think the Raiders. I think this year they'll be a bit of a shit fight, but if all these young kids kick on, they've got potential to be a very exciting footy team over the next few years with guys like Horsburgh, Tarpanay, all these great offloaders, Hudson Young. If these young guys can kick on, if a guy like Chevy can learn some hard lessons this year and come into next year, they're going to be very, very interesting all of a sudden.
There's such a vanilla team, and they're a vanilla team across the park. I'm talking punting, I'm talking super coach, anything. It's just like, bleh. Like, you can't look at a Raiders game when you're punting and go, okay, where's the try scorers going to be? Is there a guy that is just hammering down an ATS every week for the Raiders? No, it's a fucking lottery. And the same thing with
take them 1 to 12.
And it's the same thing with teams playing them. Is there a position on the field where they're really weak that you can sort of jump on for the opposing team? No, there isn't. It's vanilla. You don't know what's going on. It's the same thing for Supercoach. There's no one that you're picking in draft that you're like, yes, I'm really excited about this Raiders player. Even Joey Tapine, he's gotten vanilla as fuck as well. Like, he's put the offload away. He's very consistent, getting those 60 points, but vanilla as fuck. And
Big
I-
Red, similar.
I hope that one of these young kids come, and that was what I liked about Savage was he came in and he was that X factor, and that's what they fucking need. So hopefully, whether it be Savage, whether it be fucking Strange, whether it be Weeks, whoever the fuck, hopefully they get a little bit of oomph in their attack, and it's someone that can, well, one that I can punt on, but also someone that is a little bit interesting for draft day.
And that's the thing about Canberra. You describe them as vanilla there. I'd go a step further. They're not fucking blue ribbon vanilla. They're vanilla that fucking Ned Flanders would serve you. It's just
they're fucking rice pudding.
It's black and gold. It's black and gold brand vanilla ice cream.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think the other one that's going to be interesting, and I don't know if you had him in your notes later, but this Morgan Smithies that's arriving from England.
I heard you talking about him the other day.
Yeah, I think he'll get the 13 jersey by the sounds of it. And some players that I've spoken to that have played with and against him over there, they really rate him. I watched probably 40 minutes of his footy the other day, and I did not, and I'm not exaggerating here, I did not see a single tackle break or a single offload the entire fucking time. I think he is going to be a classic, probably make 45 tackles. I reckon he'll average 50 on the dot, and I reckon we'll be looking at him going, where the fuck are the attacking stats here? So just be aware of him. I reckon he'll be a guy that if he's not playing huge minutes, I think he's a bit of a trap. Coming from the guy who famously said when John Bateman came in, he's too small to make it. So read into that what you will. But if you get a chance, just type in Morgan Smithies highlights. There's like a 7-minute one you can watch, and there just seems to be no upside there whatsoever.
They do love bringing over the Poms, don't they?
How surprising that such a vanilla team just picked up a vanilla player.
Yeah, and I'm more than happy to be wrong if so, but my vibe from watching him and was just like, fuck, I wonder if all these players rate him just because he is the toughest motherfucker out there and he will just tackle anything with a pulse. But for Supercoach purposes in particular, I am far from convinced.
Yeah.
For a team that struggles to score points, it's an interesting choice to go from Big Red at lock to Smithy.
And I thought Big Red was getting really good, eh? I was really
So is he just going back into the front rotation then?
I'd say so.
Is that
way?
Oh.
To be honest with you though, boys, I've spoken about him a lot. He's one of my CBAs. Fucking Puru, the young 13.
Oh, yeah.
He would be my 13 every day of the week. I think he's so underrated. And I think when he does eventually get an opportunity, I don't know if it'll be this year with Smithies or whatever, but if he gets an opportunity, he is going to be your top pick on a waiver wire in a fucking heartbeat. I think I'm very likely to draft him late on draft day just to see what happens in the nation's capital.
That's got Guru written all over it, that pick. Yeah, that is tasty. All right, what about Lomax? Because man, if we get a sniff, if we get a fucking whiff that he's going to wear the fullback jersey, I think we're all over his dick. Is there any whispers or talk or confirmation or anything in the pipeworks that's saying that Zach Lomax will play fullback?
Nothing confirmed whatsoever. I don't know. I'm very quickly running out of patience with Tyrell Sloan, boys. He came through the junior grades with so much talent, so much promise. Bud Sullivan's now gone. Amone's obviously got his situation. So he's sort of the last man standing, Tyrell Sloan, and he's been the least impressive of the three. And to be honest with you, just based on what I've seen of him, I am not sure how much of a Shane Flanagan guy he's going to be realistically. Once again, I hope Sloan comes out, puts egg all over my face and fucking brains it. But I don't know. My vibe is that they'll go in a different direction. Obviously, Moses Sully re-signed the other day, long term. So you can lock him in once.
He's played really well last season.
Been incredible.
He was such a good guy.
So much respect for Sully. I think it's also been interesting that Jack Bird's come out and said he wants to play centre. For me, I just can't imagine Jack Bird coming out and saying that unless there's been a conversation with Flano and there's an opportunity to play centre there. So I reckon. And mate, fuck, what have they got to lose? Jesus Christ! Like I still have no idea what the fuck happened with Ronald Volkman the other day. That's the most bizarre.
Oh wow! That was the wildest piece. Oh, wow.
I would say you're going to be running with Flano at 6. I know I was talking on Bloke the other day, and Kempy read out a quote from Shane saying that Kyle had signed as a 9. I'm not buying that for a second. leave that at the door.
Nah.
I didn't believe that for a split second. So mate, what have you got to lose? Play Lomax at fullback. If it goes terribly in the first 6 weeks, okay.
It really did seem like the back end of last season, Lomax was going.
He sent a message.
Yeah, he was basing like there was some games here pure base. This is 50, 56, 44,
That's outrageous.
40. I mean, there was a stretch of games where he went like 32, 26, 30 points just in H8. Hit ups over 8 meters.
This is from fucking center.
So you're talking about 20 plus runs a game there. The motherfucker was going, I need to be more in this team. Like, have a look at me. I'm a gun. Put me in, coach. And honestly, it's hard to know, but the base will be there. Like he loves to put his hand up and rip in. We've seen it. His runs are off the hook. But it may be that he's not. It's hard to know because, I mean, when he plays center and he was just doing those ridiculous flick ball try assists to Ravalawa, that's where his big super coach point games were coming from. And also, we're talking about the Dragons, and I don't expect a lot of points coming from them. But I'm more excited, obviously, with him playing fullback and having his hands on the ball more often than he is at center. I just think, I mean, what did he average? 60? 60 at center in the Dragons, who did fuck all season?
Yeah.
It's exciting.
I assume he'll be goal kicking again next year, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully a bit better than he did last year.
Yeah. I had he's such an interesting guy, Lomax. Like when Brad Fittler had him through the pathways and everything, and I forget what it was, but he had a nickname for him. He used to call him like the chosen one or something like that, just because he had so much ability. Had Jamie Soward on the podcast during the year, and I think it was off camera, but Sowie said, I spent 3 or 4 years training next to Mark Asnier, and at training he would just do things that I would just sit and go, wow. And he goes, I'm doing the same things with Zach Lomax. The difference was, as it would just translate every weekend on the field. With Lomax, he hasn't quite put it together yet. But mate, the year that he puts it together, if he's playing fullback and goal kicking, and you know what, like he's averaged 60 in the Dragons and it's going like a busted. Even if they go like a busted again,
under Flano, it could be a really good move.
Flano, it could be wild. And he's honestly a guy, and people will laugh at and shit, but he's a guy that it wouldn't surprise me if we get to next year and you're looking at Zach as a fullback as maybe a late 1, maybe an early round 2 pick. I mean, if he's averaging 60 at right center doing sweet FA, imagine if he's playing fullback, even if they're a shit team, he's going to have more carries of the football. He's going to get more involved.
He played half a dozen games at left center, didn't he?
Yeah, like they swapped
next to Matt Fige,
which did nothing for him.
On. Matt Fige is like a fucking empty jersey.
Yeah. I think Lomax has got huge potential. And I probably can't explain why, but there's just red flags all over Lomax for me. Every gut feel I have says, no, just leave it to somewhere else. But the numbers are undeniable.
Yeah.
I want him. And the thing, like, and we've termed the phrase, someone that you're really into, chub rub, on the weekly rub down. And he is a chub rub, right? So, like, there's things like how he chases down a high ball. When you watch him do that, you're like,
oh, yeah.
This gives me a chub. I like that. The flick balls, how involved he is in his running game. All of a sudden, you see him at fullback. Not only that, he probably will be CTW fullback dual for the remainder of the season after he gets moved there. Hello, thanks for coming. Like I said, the absolute gold jewel other than halfback 5'8" is a fullback that is playing fullback for their club, but is also available at CTW. Someone that you can put in the CTW position who is actually playing fullback for their club. That's heaven, baby. Yeah. So there's a lot to like about Lomax, and even if he's like he's going to play center, I'm just going to pick him up just in case Dragons start rough and Flano goes, you know what, fuck it. Let's go, baby. And 4 rounds in, they put him back to fullback. He brains it. And for the rest of the year, he plays fullback.
And he's right in that sweet spot, Lomax, where I don't think he plays Origin. I don't think he gets rested at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Injuries don't seem to worry me too much with him. And I think he's also he's just got so much talent that I think he might be in a team where he might come up with less try assists and whatnot than the average fullback, but he's also in a team that's just got fucking nothing going for them, and they will just throw the ball to him. And he's the sort of guy that can create something out of nothing. He'll throw balls over the sideline. He'll come up with errors, but so does Reece Walsh. You need him. You want him to be trying to create things and come up with things. You chuck in the goal kicking. I assume it won't happen, but if something happens that Shane pulls a fucking miracle here and the Dragons are a half decent footy side and he's kicking goals in it, like that, they don't even have to be a top 8 side. If they're a top 12 side and they're just plugging along okay and they're scoring points and he's kicking goals, there's so much upside. I remember sitting there in round 17 last year in my draft, round 16 or something last year, and going, okay, who am I going to take here? Oh, there's a goal kicker sitting there, Jermaine Osako. Take him there. And no one ever would have anticipated what Osako managed to do. But it was huge. You're obviously going to have to go wildly early in that for Lomax, but he could be one of the value picks of the year.
Funny thing about the Dragons as well, like they actually don't have to perform that well for Lomax to be involved in their attacking rates, because they're the most dominant attacking edge in terms of percentage for tries scored in the comp. They score over 54% of their tries down their right edge. So although they don't score a lot of tries, they score fucking all of them down the right edge. So, any points that the Dragons are going to muster up, even if they're struggling, Lomax is going to be involved somewhere. And not only is he involved in those backline players off Hunt, giving Ravalawa the ball, but also those high balls that Hunt puts up and the chase that he puts on. He just he makes the contest 50-50 every single time. So I'm huge on him. He's a guy that I'm not scared to reach for in the 2024 draft.
We can't talk about Zach Lomax for 10 minutes and not mention the obvious, huge downside is that you just have to be watching the Dragons week in, week out.
Yeah.
Heavily invested in them. And honestly, maybe it's stupid, but that's a big
tough
factor
enough
for me, honestly.
It's
The advantage of that is that they tend to play the vast majority of their games on a Sunday afternoon, so he's a good little last captain option to have there. You can normally see your VC throughout the weekend and whatnot, which I like having, but Christ, there's so much upside, but just so much that worries me at the same time.
Hard yards watching those games, baby. At least he's the only cunt that's fucking exciting in the team.
Before we move on from him, let's say in the trials, Tyrell Sloan gets injured.
Yep.
And he's going to play fullback. If there is no question about it, I think Ramsey's still no good. He's not a chance. If Tyrell Sloan, for whatever reason, wasn't available, all of a sudden it's Zach Lomax and probably Paul Turner for fullback. Or if I know he's going to play fullback, he honestly becomes one of the most interesting guys on draft day.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. And mainly because of the flexibility he's going to afford you because of the duel that he'll eventually get. That's huge. And we'll keep harping on about duels throughout the preseason, but because we've just been stripped of so many, they are becoming more and more valuable as we go along.
I think if you're one of these people that gets Cleary or Hines, and probably in a deeper league like mine, if you're in a 14-man league and I get back at pick 28, 29 or 28 and 30 or whatever it is, geez, there's probably going to be better players than Zach Lomax available there, but getting that duel and covering a number of positions, if he's playing fullback, people will say it's early, but Christ, to get a 60-point CTW when he's playing CTW and now jumping into fullback with goal kicking, very enticing.
How many players tick all those boxes? So
exactly,
it's crazy. He's very, very interesting. Yeah, got me up and about,
very
boys.
arousing.
It doesn't feel right, but I think it's the right call.
Yep. Right. Are there any other situations so far in the preseason that you think are worthy of chatting about before we get into the CBA talk?
None that really pop up to me, boys. I think you've covered all the main ones, and I think that all the other minor ones that are getting around, I think we'll have a much clearer deal with it all come trials, as we will with everyone we've just spoken about.
And the funny thing is, like everything that we spoke about so far, there's some real value to be had there, and it's up to you guys listening to keep your finger on the pulse. Follow on socials, do your own research as well. Make sure you watch all the trials, get as many podcasts in your fucking lug holes as you can get in them, and prep hard for this, because I can't remember a season where there was this much up in the air at this point, where you just like things could fall and drastically change your opinion on blokes. It's
usually there's
sexy.
like a handful of teams, but it's almost close to 17 teams are all got a lot of question marks over certain positions.
And we're not even talking about like, oh yeah, he could be okay, maybe I'll pick him up in round 15, blah blah blah. Most of what we're talking about are guys that we're like, if it works out, we're going to reach for these motherfuckers. So huge implications, massive implication, which for me is exciting. It's going to make draft day one hell of a day, and it's already Christmas anyway. Now it's going to be very interesting. And the thing is, there's always cunts in your league that don't do the research, that turn up hungover, don't give a fuck. They're like, whatever. And you just look at him and just go, oh, I'm going to make him my bitch today.
Hold on to this pocket.
Yeah. I'm about to walk the yard and stay close and hold on to this pocket, bitch, because it's going to be a long day for you, pal. Oh, God. Right. Let's get into the could be anythings. And I love how it's CBA and the CBA Association. It's growing legs, bro. It's great. And it's got to a point now where pressure's building, bro, because you're that good at it that you have to back it up now every year. And you haven't missed for us. Obviously, on the Bloke podcast, you've always got, a State of Origin Smokey or a guy that's going to make it big, and you've nailed them as well. But here on The Wire, we want to talk about some guys that obviously might get a shot throughout the season, guys that you think that maybe a one injury away come in, could be very Supercoach relevant. The type of guys that if you take a punt on draft day and they're in your side and something happens and everyone, I will talk about this the other day, Wooker, everyone starts going, yes, I'm first pick on the waiver. And they start searching for him and they go, where the fuck is this cunt? And then they click on teams and they go, someone's already got him.
That sneaky motherfucker.
They're the guys we want to talk about, babe.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, boys, it's probably a little bit earlier than what I anticipated, so I need to go through and have a bit of a deeper look. I
want results, not excuses. Let's start.
Yeah, and they will come as we go. I've sort of got a very long list of guys here that I think are worth keeping an eye on. And it's getting harder as well because I get asked about this all the fucking time and I'm naming guys all the time. Like before, the Hopgood thing. Like I didn't talk about him the year before because no one wanted to fucking hear about it. Whereas now a guy like Ito, who would have been a massive one for me this year, I've been talking about him for 2 years now. So everyone's already aware of him and whatnot.
It's like the Carl Barron skit where he keeps saying rolled oats and after a while, rolled oats. What are rolled oats? He forgets the meaning of what rolled oats are. You've said it so many times.
There is a lot of these guys on the list that I've spoken about already last year. So, if, obviously Rub Down and Guru listeners, some of these names you would have heard before, but obviously Ito at Cronulla, I absolutely love this kid. I think he's a superstar in waiting.
Yeah.
But you're relying on Craig Fitzgibbon making a change to his side. So, fuck knows.
No,
I think the big advantage, though, for Ito this year is that Connor Tracy is left. So, he is without a doubt next man up. I was staying in communications with him at different points throughout last season when he was 18th man, and he genuinely thought he was a sniff every week. So I think he is getting closer and closer to making a debut. With Connor Tracy gone, I am confident. Put it this way, if you're one of those Sharkies outside backs, you do not want to give this kid 8 weeks to show what you can do. You don't want to get injured. You don't want to get suspended, any of that stuff. The problem is that when you look at that Cronulla Sharks backline, they're all very established first graders. That's the thing that makes it so hard to get in. It's going to be very, very difficult for him to break into that side. That's the worry I have. But I think his best opportunity to get in there is if Fitzy moves Sifa Talakai into the middle or onto an edge and he plays left center. But at the end of the day, and I see a lot of Supercoach people on social media saying that's what he has to do. That's what he's going to do. At what point has Craig Fitzgibbon shown you any fucking indication that he's going to move Sifa Talakai? Like none whatsoever. Yes, there's defensive problems, all that sort of stuff, but The fucker averages 180 meters out of center.
Yeah.
Like, it's just about the best in the league. So I don't know. He's right up there for me. If one of those boys in that back line gets an injury, a season-ending injury, Iro will absolutely dominate. And
what would be his ideal position?
I think it's center. He can play fullback. I haven't seen him play as much fullback, to be fair, but I do think that if they need a fullback, they will probably lean towards Cade Dykes before Ito.
Yeah.
I think he's next up in the back line, center or wing.
Is there a world where Wilton doesn't work out and they move Talakai to back row and Iro comes in at center?
I think there is definitely a world where that could happen. I would be. Ito is one of those guys that I think has got so much upside, and he's in a good footy side that scores points, that I would be drafting him as if he's starting at center, because the opportunity will come eventually, and I believe he's good enough to stay in that side once
to hold on to it.
Yeah. So, I will be looking at him very closely, but I think he'll be very popular. He'll be another guy that a lot of people will be talking about in Classic. Wong, we've already spoken about him at the Sydney Roosters. He's another one that I am beyond.
Got him written down.
Yeah, but everyone knows about Wong now. He's not a secret anymore. And I've been sucking his dick for 2.5 years.
I can see the table rise in front of you.
Yes,
talking about him.
So Wong, I think, is a huge one. He's probably the one that I've spoken about the most over the last years that I think explodes. Puru, we've already spoken about him at the Canberra Raiders. I really like the look of him. If he gets a spot on that side, God knows, trying to work out what Ricky Stewart's going to do, especially with a small forward. Fucking miss me. But I think he's got a lot of ability. I think a really interesting guy, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on him. I think Tom Jenkins heading up to the Newcastle Knights is very interesting. Yeah. I think he has every chance to land on the right wing for the Newcastle Knights.
It's an interesting scenario.
Very interesting scenario. If he
saw what he did in those few games.
Bro, he's a finisher. He's a natural finisher. And the thing that I love most about it is that he's got Dane Gagai inside him. You have a look at Dane Gagai. He averaged 70-odd last year, and all he did was pass the fucking football, break a tackle, offload, create opportunities. KP, starting to play a bit more down that edge too. Can you imagine a world where KP wins a Dally M medal and the right winger scores 25 tries in a season?
Yeah.
You used to not pick the Newcastle right winger simply because KP never crossed centre line. Whereas now, 25 tries in a season, the tries will be there. Does he score 25? Probably not. But if he scores 18 or 19 and you're getting him late because no one fucking knows who he is, you're absolutely flying. So
Gagai had like 16 try involvements when you take out his tries. Like
Gagai's
playing as massive
he's ever played right now. It is insane. Like he is just on running a train on other sides.
His base power was like 58 or something. Something wild like that.
I'm sitting there with him in my Classic side, just going, how the fuck aren't people owning this guy? He is just absolutely dominating. So Jenkins, I think, is a big one. Obviously, Tallis Duncan, we've spoken about him a lot. I think if you can get him, you go and get him. Gordon Chan Kum Tong, I've heard you guys pronounce his name 99% of the time on your podcast so far.
It's I'd
go as high as 100%.
I'll just look. I'll correct you there, Guru. It's Gordon Come on your chin. Thank you very much.
Gordy is a very, very talented player. He will sit behind Lockie Croker, I believe. I think he'll be the 14 come round one. There is another kid there, I believe his last name's Humphreys, who's impressed so far in preseason. But I think Gordon will grab that jersey. Hooker's just fucked, as you guys know, and as all the rest of you know.
Yeah, it's not a great position.
Gordon, I don't know. I think that of all the options that could, if an injury falls their way and they could grab big minutes, he's probably the one that I like the most.
So he's your Sonny Luke of the season.
Yeah, he is my Sonny Luke, which means avoid like the fucking plague. I think a really interesting one's up at the North Queensland Cowboys. And I think this guy's a little bit raw at the moment, but Valea, who left the New Zealand Warriors, he has so much fucking upside. And the thing that fills me with confidence at the Cowboys is that they signed Valemei from the Canberra Raiders a couple of months ago, and I wouldn't have picked when Valemei was at the Raiders. I wouldn't have picked him in my Oz tag team. He just looks so far from a first grader to me, and he arrived up at the North Queensland Cowboys, and he looked an absolute billion. So Valea, in my opinion, is more talented than him. He's raw. But fuck, he's got so much potential. And I thought Labour was an automatic in that side to land at centre, and he probably still is, but I'm telling you, this Valea, if he gets an opportunity.
Big boy too, isn't he? Big unit.
I'm not quite sure how it's going to translate to Supercoach just yet, if I'm honest with you. But I think if the Cowboys are humming, which we know they can, he is going to be such a fucking handful in that side. Not even funny. What else have we got here? A couple of guys that are already sort of established. Another one that sort of came on late last year was Sandon Smith, who I think you guys might have spoken about him the other day in a podcast I was listening to, and I agree with everything you said. He's a guy that I actually don't think he'll be in the Roosters 17 come round 1. But he's a guy that I can see myself drafting, knowing that he is probably one injury away from being a starting half in a very good side who he has shown he can handle the best of them.
Especially when you take into consideration that knee of Walker's.
The knee of Walker, the head of Keary. There's a lot of things going on there that could play a role. Caught up with Connor Watson a couple of weeks ago, met him for the first time, was talking to him. He seems reasonably confident that he's going to get that 14 jersey, which makes sense. That's what he was brought to the club for. Sandon Smith, I think, played well enough to keep it, but I think Connor will have first dibs there. So Sandon Smith, I think, is a guy that I'll probably get late, and I'm happy to be a little bit patient with him. I think he's only halfback, is he?
Yeah, he's only halfback.
Only halfback, yeah. So there's every chance if he comes in and plays more 9 or whatever it might be, there's every chance he gets dual at some point, which could make him very, very interesting. He's a very long-term play. But, you know, my comp, we added a bench spot last year to go to 5, and I'm looking at that extra spot as being a real project guy, and Sandon's got project written all over him to me. So he's a very interesting guy. Guys, I'll tell you what, one guy you didn't mention in your front row forward conversation was Terrell May.
Big boy.
He absolutely explodes this season. I love him. And people won't pick him because they'll go, oh, he can't get the minutes. I'll give you the hot tip. He doesn't fucking need the minutes. He is he is like
PPM
leader at his peak. His PPM is just insane, and guys just can't fucking tackle him. You see the Roosters, as soon as he comes off on the field, they all just flood the middle because they know what he's capable of doing. I absolutely love everything about. I love most things about Terrell May. I hate the way that he's talking about going to sign for any other club that'll fucking have him. That doesn't bode overly well at the Roosters. Terrell May is a guy that I can see going a little bit early on because I think he's got so much potential. A guy down at the Canberra Raiders that I think he has a bit of a breakout season this year is Ata Mariota. I loved him towards.
Oh, Mariota, he played a few games.
Very impressive. Once again, Horsburgh, Tarpanay, Smithies, Gula, a lot of mouths to feed there, but he's a guy that I just think he looks like the next Josh Papali'i to me. That's what I see in him. And Josh Papali'i's obviously taken up a spot too. So I'm not sure if the minutes will be there or whatnot, but geez, I'll tell you what, if the Raiders have a bad injury run in their forward pack, keep an eye on Mariota because I think he will absolutely explode this year. The West Tigers, you've obviously got my little mate Latu, who's there. I would have to assume the halves are going to be Aiden Caesar and Bud Sullivan. If one of them wants to go down, I think Latu is the next man up, Latu Fainu. Do I think he's ready for first grade at the moment? Probably not. But if he gets in there, he will come up with opportunities. I believe he's dual. Maybe one of you can deal that whilst we're sitting here. But even if I think he might only be halfback, maybe.
It's interesting because Aiden says is old as fuck. So
yes, old as fuck. Yes, which and mate Bud Sullivan, I love him.
He's 5'8", 5'8" only.
He's 5'8" only. Okay, that doesn't help. But 5'8's a bit of a shit kicker spot at the moment.
It's a difficult spot. So,
and I'll tell you what, if you manage to land as you guys spoke about, draft strategy, if you guys manage to land a Harry Grant or you manage to land a Jeremy Marsh King or a hooker you're happy with, and you might then go, hey, 5'8's going to be my spot that I go fuck it. Latu might be right to grab. I go fuck it with it anyway. Grab Latu, see what happens. If you find another 5'8 throughout the season, good as gold, but I don't mind Latu as your guy. Once again, if it's going to be halfback that you go, fuck it, Sandon Smith is probably your guy there, just to be patient with. One of the Broncos, who I think he's probably a little bit away from getting in there, but Josh Karapani, who was at the South Sydney Rabbitohs last year, a centre with a lot of talent. I'm not quite sure why he's left South Sydney. There wasn't really much said, which usually indicates maybe an attitude thing no one wants to talk about. But I don't know that. That's just me going off that there's there was really nothing said about it. He's arrived at the Brisbane Broncos. They've obviously got a lot of outside backs up there, but there are spots available there as well. And, if something happens that this Cobbo move doesn't play out the way they're expecting, they'll be looking for a genuine centre, and Karapani could be one. Just one to keep an eye on. I think he's probably a little bit further down the pecking order. Penrith. Boys, there is some gold sitting out there at Penrith. I heard you talk about Smith the other day.
Yeah.
Now, Lindsay Smith, I think, Supercoach-wise, very good player. Boys, I thought in the finals, he really hurt his chances. I thought he just struggled defensively, not in a Supercoach point of view, but I just think from a Penrith Panthers point of view.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not sure if the stocks will be as high on him. Maverick Geyer is one that I think will come in this spot.
Yeah, definitely.
I think he's a very good chance to nab jersey 17. There's another front row forward there. I believe his name's Liam Henry. I reckon he's also a very good chance to grab that front row forward spot. And as you guys said on your podcast the other day, there's not huge minutes for that Penrith pack, especially the middles. They do rotate quite a bit. Isaiah Yeo is going to play big minutes. So not a stack of opportunity there, but the advantage is that the front row forwards don't play huge minutes.
Yeah.
You almost at the Penrith Panthers, if you can become the main front row forward off the bench, it really is the sort of gold spot to be.
Well, and that's the thing, because you've got Leota and JFH really not commanding a lot of minutes. You could come off the bench and actually command the lion's share of minutes quite easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
sure.
Well, I mean, Spenny Lenny would have taken up a fair few minutes, and they've got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Liam Henry's name is. Yeah, I had it right the first time. He's one that I think is worth keeping an eye on. Canterbury, a lot of talk about Sam Hughes coming out of there. I know that Field's been impressed with him. I haven't seen too much of Sam Hughes, to be completely honest with you guys. But mate, I was thinking about it the other day. Like, I was sitting there going, "Fuck, is Josh Curran really going to be their 13?" And then I went through their squad, and I'm not sure if I can see a world where Josh Curran isn't their 13. And mate, I have no idea who's going to partner Max King in the front row. It is their middles are absolutely fucking shot.
They're trash, aren't they?
Oh mate, and we saw Jacob Preston.
Liam Knight was the option, wasn't he?
Well, mate, Liam Knight might be the second best front row forward at that club, and like I don't even know if Max King's fit. He seemed to carry an injury every single round last year.
He had a sternum injury.
Yeah. So hopefully that's recovered and sweet. But Sam Hughes is one. I'm hearing that Patolo, who they've been very high on the last 2 years, he just seemingly can't get his body right. And it sounds like that's the scenario again at Canterbury. So middle forwards there's an opportunity. A couple of guys up at the Broncos. And I think Supercoach-wise, people are going nuts for Fletcher Baker. Natty, you're a Roosters fan. There hasn't been much that I've seen from Fletcher Baker that has made me think he's going to go up there and absolutely brain
it. Not once.
He's going to fill the same role that Flegler did.
Yeah, I'm not convinced he will. I'm not even convinced he fills that role. I don't know. I didn't understand the signing the day they signed him. And when they signed him, it made me sort of, and I heard 5 weeks before that the Broncos were looking at him, and I just thought, surely fucking not. So I watched him closely for the rest of the season, sort of going, is there something I'm missing here? If I was missing it, I still am. I just don't quite see it. No. What I do see though, and who's
the big bit of gear that plays there at the Broncos?
So there's Ben Takura.
Xavier Willison.
I think Ben Takura is the one you're going to hear about. There is Xavier Willison. He just, if he can get his body right, he's great as well.
He's amazing.
Ben Takura is the one you're thinking of. I think, Natty, he is a big bit of gear. He played in the trials last year. He's an absolute monster. I know the Broncos see him as a Payne Haas potential sort of guy. He's one to watch. The other one that I think Supercoach-wise, and he's in the Supercoach system at the moment. I've spoken about it a little bit over the last few years. His name's Jaden Hunt. He played at the St. George Illawarra Dragons the last few years. He is an absolute just PPM. He's fantastic. He just gets through so much work. He doesn't have much upside, but I think he is a little smoky up there in Brisbane. I think he's another one to keep an eye on. I fucking hate that I've given you so many front row forwards. The other one that's dual position, down at the Dragons, that forward pack is fucking rank. I don't know what he's doing there. I saw you guys post that thing about Jack DeBellin the other day. My only counter to that would be, and it's something that I noticed last year, mate, every time Shane Flanagan was commentating on a Dragons game, he always seemed to point out that he thought DeBellin was playing too many minutes.
Oh, no. This is good. This is what we got here, bro. Like, fuck, this is the things we need to know.
me, but
fucking
then
dialed in.
But then I listened to your reel the other day explaining your thought process, and I don't disagree with anything you said. The minutes are there, someone's got to fucking play him. They're going to run with two hookers. Blake Laurie, he can't play more than 55, in my opinion. Who else is there? You would have to think it's DeBellin.
Oh, the two Molo brothers.
They play fuck all. The rest of them, mate, Blocko's the one that's got all the minutes for the big boys, and he plays 51 minutes and has the last 3 years.
Only low minutes.
Yeah, I'm far from convinced that Flano is going to play JDB for the minutes that he probably should. And maybe that changes as the season goes on, the worse they get. But I think one to keep an eye on, he moved from the Manly Seagulls last year, Viliami Fafita. Just has big upside, big upside. And I think Flano will just, I think based on that team, I think very few of them have an ownership of a jersey, probably outside of Blocker, Jack DeBellin.
Sounds like he might be doing some toggling, some tinkering.
Yeah. So mate, if I was Shane Flanagan, I'd be saying in the trials, you got the Charity Shield, fucking, there's 5 jerseys in the middle. Whoever fucking grabs them, it's yours. And we'll see where we go from there. So Viliami Fafita, I think he's one with a bit of upside to keep an eye on there. Mav Gaia, he's another one that I mentioned. There's a few getting around. We'll sort of wait until trials and see who appears to go a little bit deeper on them. But those are sort of the guys that I'm ballpark looking at the moment. But to be honest with you, like a guy like Wong, I feel super confident on, but you guys already know about Wong. Yep. At the moment, I don't really have a feel of like a Hopgood or a Cotter or someone that I am.
Yeah, okay. You're big call.
No one knows that is going to absolutely explode. And I think a lot of people will grasp onto Chevy Stewart is going to be the guy, or I just think a lot of them are very raw. And I think that if you're telling me they're going to be the breakout guys, you're probably just grasping to say something. I don't want this CBA thing to be like, I don't want to throw someone there if I'm not confident on them. I'm confident on Iro if he gets the opportunity, which I'm not convinced he will. I'm confident on Jenkins if he gets the opportunity. I'm hyper confident on Wong if he gets the 80 minutes. But a lot of it's just going to come down to opportunity and who gets it realistically.
Well, mate, the CBAs in draft land have always been the guys that you take a punt on, and it may work out or it may not because you're not completely confident on. But they're the guys that you're punting on late. So they're guys that are worth a punt, especially, and I mean, we haven't gone down that road, but a lot of leagues, especially with the HIAs and everything that's come out, have extended their benches to be, like an 8-man bench, something like that, which affords you the ability to have punts on these CBA guys that you can get in your bench and be like, righto, fucking let's see how you go. It's not going to bother your output as a super coach team because you've got the depth there to carry these guys, and mate, that's what you got to do because these late picks, don't overthink the room when it comes to your late picks. It's all for punts. It's all fucking punting. Just have big punts. You're better off having a fucking punt on a guy like Iro or one of the guys that you mentioned, Guru, than taking a guy that is going to come off the bench, get 45 points in the front row, and have him on your bench. Fucking boring. Miss me with that.
Yeah. Oh, I think the one guy I forgot to mention, once again, because he's he's only played 1 or 2 games now, because he's such in the public eye, Su'a-Fa'alogo at the Melbourne Storm. You guys know how long I've been high on him, but everyone's well and truly aware of him. Like, he played the Kangaroos twice last year. So everyone's well and truly aware of him, and everyone knows that if Pappy goes down, he is the next guy to step into that role. So it'll be interesting to see where he's drafted because there's every chance he ends up. Probably not. I mean, they might end up.
Is there a chance they will play him on the wing?
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, a lot of people saying they reckon he's a sniff to play center or wing. I think defensively he'd really struggle out there. He played wing in reserve grade, to be fair, when Pappy was in that team. I think the chat of him playing center's a little bit off the mark, though. I can't see that. The other guy
if you draft Pappy, you need to seriously look at him as a handcuff option.
Yeah, you need an insurance policy there, 100%.
Yeah.
The other guy who's not two guys actually, they're not could be anythings, but they are guys that I think are interesting. Obviously, Bronson Xerri is one of them, returning to the Canterbury Bulldogs. I think he starts slow. I'm not expecting Canterbury to absolutely jump out of the ground, but Bronson is a very, very talented player. He is lightning quick.
point to prove
The
narrative, which I
point
love.
to prove, yeah. I've watched him train a number of times over the last few weeks down there with Roger Fabry, and he is absolutely fucking flying.
He's very quick.
And he's a big body. I reckon you'll probably see him lose a bit of weight, like lose a bit of size as the season moves forward. I probably think he's a little bit too big at the moment for center, but I think he'll drop that very quickly, and I think he'll be a good pick. The other one, boys, which will sound super boring, but I would be more than happy at some point on draft day to take a punt on Tom Eisenhuth. I reckon there is every chance that he gets an edge spot for the Dragons. Early days, but was having a look at some Dragons training photos the other day that, by the look of it, was evidently a training run. Jaden Sewell was on the left, and in every single photo, Tommy Eisenhuth was sort of on the right outside Benny Hunt. So not a super exciting guy, but if he locks down 80 minutes, which I reckon there's every chance that Flano would just love to have someone he can just fucking rely on to put out there. Tommy Eisenhuth, field position, 2RF CTW. If he plays 80 minutes in the second row, thanks for coming.
Yep. That's 50 to 55 points bankable.
Yeah, never have to think about it again.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because mate, he toils when he gets on the field. Like, wasn't getting a lot of minutes at Storm, but when he got them, he was dependable with that PPM for sure.
Yeah, there's another kid at the Dragons, sorry, that I like. I'm just looking for his name. I'm blanking on his name. He is a center that I wouldn't be surprised if he does come into the side. If anyone wants to pat me for a second until I find his name.
It's interesting. That
I'd rather watch it drown, to be honest.
I'm actually, there he is. He's at the very bottom of the CTW list. Tamale, Tamale. If Zach Lomax does move to center, you're assuming Jack Bird does play center, but I wouldn't be surprised if this kid grabs a spot somewhere in first grade throughout the year. And if he gets an opportunity, if there's a long-term injury and you see him named, he is one that I would grab in a heartbeat.
But specialist center rather than could play wing.
Yeah, I've only ever seen him play center. So I'm sure you could jag him on the wing if need be.
I'm just thinking Figo has to go at some point.
Keep him there. Keep him there, bro, because every week I make money.
Yeah.
I'm betting the winger that's running at him.
I mean, defensively, he needs to go.
Keep him.
The cause of so many trouble.
Keep him there, bro. Cash cow.
Yeah, so that's probably what we're looking at the moment, boys. But we'll have more, and I think I'm going to narrow it down to a top 5 or something.
I love that.
It's a strong list. So
and you know what?
Very interesting.
When you're putting your pre-draft list together, these are the names you start moving up just in case.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like there's a fucking sea of no names that will be completely irrelevant, but you might as well start moving these cunts up once obviously Supercoach opens and you can start tinkering with your fucking pre-draft list every single morning. But these are the guys who start moving up just in case. Just in case.
I'll tell you, boys, who the other one is that most people won't be interested in him, but I think he's a serious sniff come round 1 to be halfback. I reckon Hutcho at the Bulldogs.
Ooh, Walker's been talking about Hutcho.
Yeah, like we saw what he did at the Roosters. And obviously, in hindsight, Robbo made the right decision, brought Walker back in, and Walker killed the finals. But, Natty, once again, you can talk more on it, but I felt like it was Hutcho that actually turned your season around. He straightened everything up, and he got the car back on the road, and then Sam Walker jumped in the seat and put the icing on top. But, mate, I would not be surprised at all if we get to round 1 and Phil Gould and Serraldo have gone, Hutcho, you got a little bit more experience, a little bit better defensively. We're going to go with you at halfback.
He's so dependable. And the thing is, he's a bit of a victim of his versatility. He's the perfect 14 on every single side. But you're right. He came on for the Roosters and just brained it. And whether that's because he had nothing to lose and he was like, look, I'm just going to fucking play with complete and utter abandonment because what have I got to lose? You know, I've got to show them what I'm worth, but also I've got to show other teams what I'm worth as well to try and get a contract, whether that was the case or it is part of his game. But I agree. He's definitely a sniff there. I like Sexton was great, but it's a small sample size, isn't it? And I think they will be battling.
It's the big risk with Sexton. Like he came on like a frog on a sock last season. I think he had I think it was a try contribution every, no, 1.5 try contributions every game. And look, at the Dragon, at the Titans, he was a bit part player, and then he kind of got shafted when Foz came along. It's a tough one to say with 100% certainty where they're going to land, and whether Serrato's had some thinking over the offseason and obviously had some chats with Gould, as you mentioned. I'm not confident. I'm huge on Sexton, but yeah, I think defensively he can get caught out.
Just having a look at the back end of Hutcho's season when he actually was playing halfback for the Roosters. Granted, very small sample size, I get that. He played 80 minutes at halfback against Manly, scored 42. Played 80 minutes against the Dolphins, 130. Then 80 minutes against Parramatta, scored 48. So the thing that stands out for me, though, is when playing halfback in those last two games, he base stated 50 and 44.
Yeah, wow.
So like he's a hard worker, and like there's other games here when he comes on at 14, he plays 38 minutes, and he's just got a lot of work in him. I love everything about Hutcho, and I think that if you go back to when Canterbury's been successful, they've been a tough, gritty fucking side. I feel like Hutcho just kind of fits that.
He does 100%.
Like
the only thing I'll say, and playing devil's advocate here, is when Toby Sexton did come onto the Bulldogs side,
changed their attack.
He changed Burton's game, and he really made Burton a running 5'8", which is when we see the best of Burton, when he doesn't have to worry about steering the ship around. So is it that a true half for the Canterbury Bulldogs brings out the best in Burton?
Yep.
Will Hutcho do that? Don't know. He could do. Fuck, I don't know. But I'm just saying that maybe that's why they brought Toby Sexton to the club, to say to Burton, don't worry about fucking the X's and O's, brother. Just play eyes up, which is what he did. And you could see it in his Supercoach points in the guts of the season there. He started fucking putting it on. So yeah, there's a bit to go on there at the Bulldogs, and actually there's a lot of scenarios the Bulldogs that are very interesting. You mentioned Bronson Xerri, Viliami Kikau coming back. If he's fit and healthy on that left edge is going to be fucking sexy as hell on paper anyway. Max King carrying that injury all year. If he's fit, coming in, like he was super consistent, Max King, throughout the entire year. I mean, he's not a sexy pick by any means, but he might have 3 or 4 points of value in him coming into this season if he's good to go. So there are some interesting points. Critter coming into the side. I mean, someone mentioned on Instagram to me that Critter might take the goal kicking. Now, I don't think that'll happen. Burton kicked it at an 85% clip last year, so I don't think Critter takes it. But again, it's a talking point. There's a lot going on there at the Bulldogs, isn't there?
Yeah, for sure. And I'll be avoiding most of it, I think. I'm just confident enough that they turn it around. Bronson becomes really interesting to me, but I owned him a couple of years ago. He was a big fucking CBA for me, Bronson. But yeah, I don't know with Canterbury. I think that Kikau, a lot of people are going to get very excited about him again. I'm not even going to be looking at him.
No, I will never touch a edge back rower that has a base under 39.
Kikau was the most destructive back rower in rugby league at one point. He was also, in my opinion, the best ball playing back rower at one point as well, in the best side we've potentially ever seen. And I think he averaged 60.
Yeah.
We've
never been a big fan of him.
Yeah, we've always avoided him.
It's almost like the eye test fools people. People are watching him on the weekend going, how is this bloke not picked up? Or, I have to draft this guy early.
So destructive.
Everyone's talking about it. The commentators are pulling their puds over him. Do you know what I mean? You just get whipped up into the kick-out frenzy. And it's like, hang on. The cunt made 6 tackles and 11 runs if you take out his fucking line break and try.
Yeah,
he's Nanai. Jeremiah Nanai and Viliami Kikau are 2 edge back rowers I will never touch.
Yeah, I just can't do it with Kikau. I'm just getting up his stats now from that year. He it ended up being 65 that he averaged. What do you reckon his base stat average was that year that he absolutely fucking killed it? I'm just getting it up now.
36.
30, 35.
34. So
Yeah, even
mate,
less.
he's
Yeah,
his
wow.
absolute best in potentially the greatest
Mm.
side ever on an edge that honestly they literally designed that entire edge around him. Isaac Tungo was running the decoy for him every fucking time, and he was almost playing second row / fullback on that edge. He was essentially because Dylan Edwards never went down that side, and he averaged 65. I mean, fucking please.
Effectively, you're picking a winger.
Yes, yeah. And
That you'll get that type of score.
Yeah.
That's
you'll have a great name that'll be frustrating as fuck.
yep.
But yeah, and I'll tell you what, if you do manage to get him, and he scores a try, he scores 3 tries in 3 weeks, and he's averaging 70 at that point, trade him.
Sell
80
him,
fucking
sell him.
sap. Yeah,
Sell, baby. Get rid of him. Get fucking rid of him.
Abort.
Same goes with Jeremiah Nanai. Like if he catches three high balls and scores 3 tries in the first 3 weeks, get rid of that cunt as quick as you can.
Yeah. So
Mind you, coming off a 46 average, he is going to be down on a lot of people's pre-draft lists, so has the potential to slide a bit.
You take him, Booker. You take him.
You know that I don't like him. in Supercoach.
Oh, good gear, boys. Good gear. Lot to think about. The cogs are turning. Juices are flowing. I'm going to be dreamy about some of these CBAs tonight. I know that much.
Yeah,
mate,
there's big things coming on the CBA front. It's going to be like nothing we've seen before. So stay tuned for that. You'd like
I cannot wait.
Very excited. Very fucking excited. Well, I reckon we probably reconvene with the Wire again sort of mid-February. Depending on how Wooker's going being a dad, he may be with us. Otherwise, I'll be representing the rub down. It'll just be me in you, Guru. But we usually sort of dial in on our booms, busts, and sleepers for the 2024 season. So I think that's probably what we should do in February and give everyone our finalized picks for who we fucking like coming into the season.
Yep.
But until then, boys, let's get out of here. Thank you very much for coming on, Guru. It's always lovely to see those baby blues.
Always a chore, never a pleasure, boys. Love you muchly.
All right. We'll check
Started with the sledging left.
Couple of drive-bys. Pew, 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 pew. All right. We'll catch us next round. See you, boys.